No. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Alison, and this is the Fundzerker number. What number are we on? 158.
Should I do the intro? Coming to you live from deep within.
Sorry about that.
Deep within a radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the alt-right apocalypse, once again wading into battle against the, I don't know, the lobster froggy hordes doesn't seem to be appropriate here. The army of the borderline, the army of the narcissistic.
They're robots.
The bots, the robots. The fembots. Yep. From Austin Powers. Everyone, that's a joke from Austin Powers. It's not really misogynistic. Because I know people are pretending. You know, I am hearing that echo, Brian. Must be coming from somewhere.
Well, I could just mute when I'm not talking.
Are you guys in the chat? Yeah, are you guys in the chat hearing that echo? Okay, well, it seems to have resolved itself when Brian mutes. No, maybe it's still there.
It's a
technical difficulty. Tell me if you guys hear it in the chat. Anyway, so this is our...
Yeah, go ahead.
This is our monthly fundraiser, so that we can get the funds to continue to put on the shows. And we are entirely funded by our audience. We don't take any sponsorships. And we have absolutely no ad revenue at this point. Well, maybe we get like $10 from ad revenue each month. But very little ad revenue, shall we say. So it's up to you guys to make sure we can continue to exist. And you can do that at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. And we'll hopefully, every little bit helps. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, I only have $5, every $5 is the $5 that gets us over the line. So please do help us out. And I will do some shout outs for whoever has supported us throughout the show. And we'll stop at the half-hour mark, and if necessary, I'll do some arm twisting because you guys seem to enjoy that in some weird way. Back to you, Brian.
So could you say something really quick? I'm just checking because I think
Yes, I will say something really quick.
All right,
yeah, I can still hear myself as an echo.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
You don't know where that's coming from, hey?
No, I don't know where that's coming from. I'm gonna lower my gain a bit. I'll just try to mute when I'm not talking. So, all right.
Yeah.
So today we're gonna be looking at the highlights from the what are we calling this? The closing arguments of the
Yes, this
Amber
is the
Heard
closing arguments.
Yeah, it
was not what we're calling it. It's what they are.
Yes. So
yeah,
the closing arguments of the trial of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp that everyone has been on board with. The jury is now deliberating. I don't know if we're gonna get a verdict from them tomorrow. I know people are saying that if anything, it'll happen tomorrow. It may not, because these things could go on for a little bit. So we're gonna look at the closing arguments for the defense, which is Amber Heard's lawyers, Rottenborn, and I don't remember, and that's literally his name. I thought it was a joke, but I think that's literally his name. And this woman, Elaine, I think is her name. But we're gonna start with Rottenborn, which is the gentleman on the right. And we're going to listen to the highlights of their closing arguments. And I want you to bear in mind that no matter how ludicrous you think this sounds, it's possible, quite possible, that Johnny Depp still loses. And the confidence to which these people make their closing arguments should give you a clue as to, why that might be. So, all right, I'm gonna play the clip now. Let's go ahead and do it.
In Mr. Depp's world, you don't leave Mr. Depp. And if
Can you guys hear that okay? Alison, can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it. It's fairly low, but I'm pretty sure that's because you want to make sure that there's no echo. So, I also think I can turn this up on my end.
you might be able to. It's not that I have it turned down. It's that the volume on this is low. Like for whatever reason, this video has a lower video, a lower volume. So all right. Anyway, so he opens up by saying you don't leave Mr. Depp or something like that, right? Essentially,
which is totally consistent with what we heard from Amber Heard, constantly trying to stalk him from bathroom to bathroom and house to house, and the fact that she sent a stream of texts whenever he wasn't in her present. And then when he decided to file for divorce, she attempted to destroy him. It seems more like you just don't leave Amber Heard. But, these individuals are very good with deny, reverse order of offender and victim, that what they call DARVO. So they project what Amber is doing, and which you can see from the evidence of the text and the evidence of her behavior, that she won't let him go and just deal with what he needs to deal with. She won't let him go without trying to get his attention through texting, and she won't let him go in terms of leaving her without attempting to destroy his life. So it's right there, right off the bat, they're blaming on Johnny what apparently is something that Amber's doing. Thus, all of this. Thus, 6 years of him living with her lies, her alleged lies. All right.
But Alison, she's just a woman. How could she do anything like that? How could she really control a man like Johnny Depp? She doesn't have the same strength. She doesn't. She's just a woman.
Yeah, and wizards are just squishy, except that women have the ability to influence institutions and groups and other people to do their damage for them. And is anybody really going to deny that that's the case? Like, there isn't an institutional bias towards women when they're victims of things. Like, I understand that a lot of women who are victims, it's very traumatic to come forward and actually bring their abuser to justice, especially when it's a woman. But for women who don't, who aren't actually dealing with any kind of abuse because they're making a false allegation, the trauma of the abuse isn't going to be a factor preventing them from pursuing their vendetta. So it's like, so it is hard for those women who have been abused to come forward, but it's not hard for false accusers to come forward. It's not hard at all, because we have movements that essentially say believe the woman no matter what. We have institutions that will manufacture credibility for her. They'll excuse any behavior that she engages in as, she's not a perfect victim, so how can you judge her? She's not a perfect victim. Maybe she was the one who was doing all the hitting, but she's an imperfect victim, not an abuser. I mean, there's a huge institutional bias for women when they are victims of abuse. Like I said, it doesn't mitigate the fact, if you're a genuine victim, that it's traumatic to go through what happened to you, and that the whole process of going into the court and giving your abuser due process isn't difficult, isn't in and of itself sort of feel almost like the institution protects the abuser. But that's the point. Due process protects everyone alleged to be a victim of a crime. I mean, hell, in the 1950s and 60s, the KKK used to, the white supremacists in the South used to claim that due process for black men accused of crimes was protecting them, because they weren't immediately subject to punishment, and they were granted innocent before proven guilty. So that's the same thing. When you say that the system protects abusers, yes, because they're alleged abusers. They're alleged to have committed a crime, and it's innocent before proven guilty. And that's the way it should be. But overall, the system does enable female accusers to get away with the kind of stuff that Amber Heard has gotten away with. The system did not protect Johnny Depp, because we have been generation upon generation now creating a system that erodes the whole concept of innocent before proven guilty when it comes to men accused of crimes by women, that's encouraged public, and this isn't something that's new. Lynching was a very public, very violent extrajudicial punishment towards men accused of crimes, not just black men, but also men of other minorities, immigrant, poor men were also subject to that kind of behavior. So this is not new. The idea that when a woman alleges some form of victimhood, society needs to do away with due process, and innocent before proven guilty is not a new idea. It's very old. Mob justice has always been with us, and wherever it raises its head, it's wrong. Men accused by women deserve the protection of the law, just like any other criminal deserves or alleged criminal deserves the protection of the law. If you're accused of treason by your government, you deserve the protection of the law. And we're sort of seeing something like that in Canada, where a person who's basically being accused of treason is, well, let's just say she's being railroaded by the law. But it's the same kind of thing. And the reason why we do that is because the law can be used as additional punishment towards someone who's innocent if we don't determine guilt before the punishment is laid. And that's just the way it has to be. It doesn't mean that the law is biased for the abuser. It means that the law is created so that people are innocent before proven guilty. And that's the way it needs to be. We need to have due process. We need to have logic. We need to have evidence when it comes to criminal proceedings, and also proceedings when you're talking about violations of law that aren't necessarily criminal but are civil. So
yeah, like this case,
like this, and if without that, we don't have a damn society. Okay, and like I said, I know that for women who have genuinely been abused, the process very often feels like it's stacked against you, because you are attempting to go through the process of proving guilt when a system is supposed to assume innocence. And like I said, in a lot of cases, that's been reduced for men when we're talking about family courts, child custody, domestic violence, and sexual violence. There's all kinds of impositions on due process now, to the point where, for example, the UK courts have had to look into a number of convictions of sexual violence that occurred as a result of throwing out evidence of innocence. So they've had to reopen these cases where men were convicted of sexual violence and evidence of their innocence wasn't even entered into consideration during the trial. So there is now an institutional bias. It's starting to really erode away that innocent before proven guilty, specifically in cases where women accuse men of crimes. Anyway, so that's my little spiel. Once again, guys, please go and help us out for the month, or we will not be able to continue this work. So feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz, or feedthebadger.com, and follow the pop-ups. All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's play the next clip.
If you do, he will start a campaign of global humiliation against you. A smear campaign that lasts to this very day. He will do everything he can to destroy your life, to destroy your career. That is what they're saying, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hasn't he been subject to a smear campaign for the last 6 years? By the media?
Again, it's like you said, it's Darvo. And the fact is, what's really funny about this is that what this guy is saying Johnny Depp did to Amber Heard is something that is completely, at worst, it's just something that's completely out of his control, because it's the people who support him that are, making memes and poking fun at Amber Heard online and making these, edited videos and things like that, and responding to what the allegations, etc., or they're taking it seriously, and they're seriously trying to use like this as an opportunity to discuss an important topic that no one talks about, which is essentially things related to male victims of domestic violence, male victims of false accusations, male victims of smear campaigns, like what the media has done. But most of the people doing this on behalf of Johnny, they're not doing it because he told them to. They're doing it because they want to. So this is a completely organic online phenomenon. It's all people that just say, you know what, I think that Amber Heard lied, or I think that Amber Heard is the abuser, or whatever, right? This is nothing like what Amber Heard did, where she wrote a piece for the Washington Post, if I remember correctly, and the media all got behind it, in unison, because I don't know, that they seem to be drawn to fucked up shit like that. Pardon my French. And it's completely different. But of course, the lawyer is going to try and make it look like Johnny Depp is the one commanding his followers to destroy Amber Heard. The other lawyer mentioned that umbrella guy a couple times as like one of the main, I think, internet abusers of Amber Heard. And the only thing he's done, to my knowledge, is just cover the trial as it's unfolded. And he has a lot of followers, but it's funny though. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if people are going to fall for this. I honestly think there is a chance though. That's what's kind of concerning, is that this guy can say a bunch of shit, and everyone will be like, that's been following this closely, is going to say this guy's full of shit. But it doesn't mean it couldn't have influence over the jury. It doesn't mean that they couldn't be like, well, I think they were both abusive. So, so.
Yes. Yeah. Let's keep going.
Right,
It's like the top hits of all of the egregious stuff that they've asserted. And how is he responsible? Like, how is he responsible for people on the internet watching this trial and coming to their own conclusions? Aside from, him saying, yeah, it's okay, you can publicize it, when the judge is like, I think I'll publicize it. And also actually pursuing the trial in the first place. Because there's no evidence. Like, he's asserting something with no evidence. Is there any evidence that Johnny Depp is paying people to go out and promote shaming Amber Heard? I mean, the only evidence I've seen of any PR people working for anyone is Amber Heard firing her PR team and hiring a new PR team.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All
so
the lawyers.
What's going on here?
Yeah. They're. This is closing arguments, so they're gonna heap on the emotion. That's basically what this is, and all it takes is for them to convince the judge or a number of members on the jury that would
just the jury, the jury. It's not
the jury. That's the only. But I mean, if they can make one person a true believer, that would
That's right.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a strategy, because again, he's asserting something with no evidence, as far as I know. Mm-hmm. So the strategy is to essentially say, look at this woman, look how abused she is. She's being horribly abused in public. She's being shamed. She's being subject to bad words in public. He might be responsible somehow, or he's responsible indirectly by starting this whole process that led to her, essentially all of her lies being revealed, and people being like, this really is not a good thing. I don't like this human being because she's lying and she's hurting another human being. But that's his fault, and she's hurting. Doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. A woman, Amber Heard allegedly lied about Johnny Depp, woman most affected. And we're supposed to forget everything else that's happening. Amber's own actions, the evidence, the fact that he's presenting no evidence for his assertions. We're supposed to forget everything and just focus on the fact that a woman is being harmed. And everything else is supposed to disappear, and that is an argument. Literally, that in and of itself is an argument. And this works. Okay? This works.
It works.
I have seen crazy footage where a woman is in the process of assaulting someone, and then they the cops come, and she falls on the floor and starts pretending to be in pain, or having been hit, having had nothing done to her. And this works because we have an instinct to attend to women when they are threatened. That's why the classic game mechanic, the story mechanic, is what is it? The damsel in distress. Because everybody is instantly convinced that we need to do something as soon as a woman is harmed or perceived to be harmed or can be framed as being harmed or maybe is being harmed by proxy, abstract. Something is happening in another part of the world that she has had nothing to do with because she's a woman. She shares in those abstract harms abstractly. That's all we need to do to engage that instinct. And then everybody drops everything else and says, you're right. Amber Heard is suffering. She's being mocked by internet trolls. Therefore, we must vote for the defense because she's being hurt, or she could be hurt, or she maybe could be hurt in an abstract sense, or possibly in the future she may be hurt, or possibly in the future she may feel bad, and we need to attend to that. I mean, that instinct is so strong that this becomes itself an argument. It doesn't seem like an argument because it really isn't. It's not an argument in a logical sense, and he has no evidence for it. But it is still a powerful argument. All right, I'll shut up now.
All right, let's play some more. It's true, though. All right, let's play some more. That's what I think this guy's going to do, essentially.
And that's what they're trying to get you, the jury, to be an accomplice to. But it's not surprising, because Mr. Depp cannot and will not take responsibility for his own actions. It's always someone else's fault. Does the First Amendment misheard?
Yeah, you want to hear that? Yeah, it's always somebody else's fault.
No, I already heard. Always somebody else. So he has actually taken responsibility for his addiction, as far as I can tell. He's taken responsibility for those texts, which were dark humor. I'm so glad to hear Camille. It's Camille, right?
His woman in his white angelic lawyer. Yeah. I think they're dating now too.
His Valkyrie. No, that's just a rumor. His Valkyrie.
I'm sure it is. Yes, exactly. Yes, that was great. She's great. Actually, the other guy's great too. But
yeah, Jonathan. My husband calls him the gumshoe lawyer. So because he's so persistent. He's like an old school like.
Like Columbo, right? Just one more thing. I just got one more question for you. I'm sorry, my brain doesn't work like it used to, and then you get like it's Columbo, yeah. But
they're great. But she said, dark humor doesn't mean you're an abuser. Just because you enjoy dark humor and it's not everybody's cup of tea, that doesn't make you an abuser, which was really great for me to hear because the whole thing about dark humor ended up being a point in the trial that we were a part of. Honey Badger Radio, myself, was a part of. And the fact that I used dark humor was used to smear me as a potential terrorist. And it was great to hear somebody stand up in public and say, yeah, this dark humor doesn't mean that he would actually ever do anything. And furthermore, he's referencing Monty Python, which itself had a lot of dark humor in it. So it's good to hear somebody actually go out and say, people who engage in dark humor are not criminals. They're just, often have experienced a lot of really hard things in their life. So they turn to dark humor to cope. All right. Johnny has experienced a lot of difficult things.
Or we could just come after John Cleese and Eric Idle and sue them for putting that joke out there, which then in turn allowed Johnny to make it. So it's their fault. Cancel Monty Python. I'm kidding, guys. I'm obviously kidding. All right, let's play some more.
Amendment give Ms. Heard the right to write the words that she wrote in this article.
So he's saying, does the First Amendment. So this is a popular, I'm going to play the rest of the clip, but I just wanted to say this is a popular position that not just this lawyer is taking, but the media is taking, that's trying to side with Heard on all this, is that it's a First Amendment issue. All of a sudden they care about the First Amendment, freedom of speech. So he's saying, does Amber Heard have a right to write an article that libelously frames Johnny Depp as a wife beater. Does she have the? Do you not believe in free speech? That's what he's doing.
Suddenly, free speech is the thing. I thought free speech doesn't mean consequence-free speech.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a bit weird. I mean, it's not like we don't have anything in place for litigious retribution in the event of someone lying about you to destroy your reputation. It's not like anything like that exists. It's not like there's no penalty for lying, making a false allegation.
This seems to be sort of a shaky legal argument. Like, I mean, yes, there's the argument that he didn't have financial penalty, therefore defamation doesn't work. This defamation trial is very similar to what I sued the Calgary Expo and the Mary Sue for. But the fact is that he's appealing to the First Amendment. Well, it doesn't matter because this law exists. Like the law that Johnny Depp is suing under exists. It exists patently. That's what he's doing. He's suing under this law. The fact that when you make that freedom of speech argument, what are you trying to say? That we should get rid of the defamation laws? Like, really? Because there's no, like, you can't just say, well, she should have the freedom of speech to do this on criminal action or this, this action that's against civil law. Well, no. The law exists. Unless you're going to start arguing that law shouldn't exist, well, that's a different argument entirely in a different courtroom. So I'm not even getting this angle at all.
Yeah, well, let's let him make the rest of his case, but I'm with you on that.
On December 18th, 2018. That's the question. And you cannot simultaneously protect and uphold the First Amendment and find in favor of Johnny Depp on his claim. You simply cannot. You have to decide.
What? Wait, no. That is the argument he's making. He's like, defamation laws or freedom of speech, one or the other. Well, that doesn't negate the fact that, you get what I'm saying? Like, he's like, yeah.
Of course not.
He's like,
yeah.
Like, the defamation laws exist. The fact that the Americans have freedom of speech, Canadians don't at all. We completely don't, and it's been proven definitively in the last events of 2022 that we do not have free speech. But you Americans still do. You're still a first world country. But
well, we're the only ones that do technically. But I'm all for everybody else getting on board. I'm not going to be jealous.
Yeah, well, we did get on board with the Freedom Convoy, but you know what happened to that? Anyway, or he's essentially saying, because of the First Amendment, defamation laws don't apply. Well, you could say this with every single defamation trial in existence. Every single one of them. Which makes this completely fatuous as a legal argument. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, he's basically stood up to the he stood up in front of the judge and said, this law that the plaintiff is suing my client under shouldn't exist in the first place. I'm not saying that her behavior doesn't exactly match what this law lays out as being against it. I'm not saying that. I'm simply arguing that this law shouldn't exist in the first place, Your Honor. Therefore, the jury must acquit. It's like, what? I'm arguing, Your Honor, that we should all be on a beach in Hawaii and not even doing a trial. That's what should be happening, but it isn't. Therefore, the jury must acquit. Like, this is complete nonsense. Does anybody else pick up on that?
Yeah, well, yes, I think that we all do. But the concern is, will the jury pick up on that? I mean, I hope so.
How much nonsense that is? Like,
yeah,
God,
yeah, exactly.
I assume entertainment is trying to pick out the highlights that they think most drive home the argument, not the most ridiculous bits, right? 'Cause I'm pretty sure entertainment today is on the side of Amber Heard. Am I wrong?
What was that? that who's on the side of
Am I breaking up?
No. I can hear you. Entertainment Tonight. I don't know.
It's tonight, not today.
Yeah, Entertainment Tonight. I think that's what ET usually stands for, other than the extraterrestrial. But I think that they're legitimately showing this in a neutral position. I mean, because I looked at the highlights and they seem to be in line with all of the arguments that the defense is making. So there doesn't appear to be any editorial trickery going on. So I don't know. I don't know. I think Entertainment Tonight, though, they're basically vultures, right? So in general, they don't really care how this shakes out. They just know it's going to get them a lot of views. So they don't care if I don't think they care if Amber Heard or Johnny Depp wins. They just care about the drama that they are. But I mean, that's not really what a lot of people are interested in. So
yeah, well, okay, I don't know what side. I'm actually pretty sure that Entertainment Tonight, so it's tonight. I was close. It was a day term. I'm pretty sure they're probably on Amber Heard's side, considering most of the mainstream media or corporate media is. And they must think that these are the good stuff, right? This is the juicy bits.
Yeah, they think this is the good stuff.
This is the good stuff, like the insane, like the Chewbacca defense. I don't know if anybody knows what the Chewbacca defense is. It's essentially a lawyer getting up and spouting gibberish and then saying, "And thus you must acquit." Like, seriously, he's just gotten up and spouted gibberish about how the defamation laws that his client is being sued under shouldn't exist in the first place. Well, okay, but that is not the world we exist in, Rottenbaum. We exist in this world where they do, and she is being sued under them. Yeah. Like I said, we could all be going to Hawaii on YouTube, but that is not the world we exist in. This is the world we exist in, and we must deal with this world.
Now I want to see a courtroom drama featuring Chewbacca as like the primary witness, and everyone's trying to make sense of what he's saying.
I can't. My dog can do a really good Chewbacca impression.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. All right. My dog can do it too.
He's a German Shepherd.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a German Shepherd, so he's very vocal.
Yeah, Jojo's a hound, and he doesn't do like howling like a lot of hounds, but he bays, and it can be really annoying at like 6 a.m. So, but that's how he wakes us up. He's like, okay, I need to eat now. All right, but anyway,
it's time.
Yeah,
you've had enough horizontal time, humans. It's now time to be vertical.
All right, let's hear the next incredible own by Rottenbaum.
You have to decide, should someone be able to write an article like that in the United States of America without being sued successfully, without having to go through the hell that Ms. Heard has gone through?
What? So you have to decide, do you believe in the First Amendment? Then you should also believe in slander and libel. You can't have both. Actually, you can.
About every piece of evidence that you've heard over the last 6 weeks about his abuse, about their relationship. None of that is in the article. None of it. We all know that it would be a very different article if she had written about what she suffered, that she's told you about over the last 6 weeks. Because he knows the words are true, Mr. Depp says that the words now have a defamatory implication. He says the statements are the same as saying, Johnny Depp abused me. But just because he wants to make the article about himself doesn't mean it is.
All right, I'm just pausing it there for the thing.
All right. Yes, because he wants to make the article about himself doesn't mean it is, except Amber Heard admitted on stand that she wrote the article about Johnny Depp. How did they get out of that? How? Like, you've seen that footage, have you, Brian? Did you see the footage?
Yeah, which footage? The footage, like from the court case, or this one, or the court?
No. From the court case. Okay.
From the old one, or for this one?
No, there's a clip of Amber Heard admitting on stand that she wrote the article about Johnny Depp. She admitted it. Now, I mean,
Okay.
it was a slight inference because she refers to Johnny Depp and says, "Oh, he's a powerful man. That's why I had to write the op-ed about him." So, I mean, there's a little bit of wiggle room if you're a sophist between he's a powerful man and that's why I had to write the op-ed about him, because the sophists come in there and they say, well, she could be using him to refer to the platonic solid that is a powerful man. You know, the abstract concept, the class powerful man, not the specific powerful man that she referred to in a sentence prior. So they just create this fog of fart. But she admitted to it. And now here he is saying, oh no, it's just Johnny pretending that she's talking about him. No.
Of course.
No.
You know, a lot of the articles that were written in defense of Amber Heard, some of which were the ones we went through, and some other ones that we have yet to go through, have also made the same argument. And recently, where they say, well, she didn't say that the article was about him in the article she wrote. And then they use that as a form of, like, as a kind of defense. Like, it's just to say, why does Johnny think everything's about him? You know? So it's funny because she admitted to it, and yet they're still using it.
Yes, it is. It is funny. And it would really put, like, a stake through the heart of their I can't believe she did it, honestly. But
yeah,
maybe the jury will slip through that tiny microscopic crack between Johnny Depp is a powerful man, an influential and charming man. That's why I had to write the op-ed about him. You know, the thin crack where the subject of one sentence isn't necessarily the subject of the next sentence. Even though in normal human logic and speech, generally that's the case, you know. But anyway, we'll see what the jury comes to with that. I just find it fascinating that it's a basic no sale for that testimony that she gave. He's not even going to address it. No, that didn't happen. Memory hold. Let's move on.
Yep.
But this woman, she could be an abused woman. She could be subject to horrible abuse online. Therefore, she is innocent. Well, I mean, not really innocent, because she did do what she's being accused of. But because she could be a woman who is harmed by something, we don't have to care about her actions or the consequences of those actions or the legal realities that she exists in as a citizen of this world. No, none of that matters. She could be a woman in pain or in harm or potentially insulted by something. That's what matters here. Therefore, you must acquit. And this is an argument that works. Like, I am not actually exaggerating. All people have to do is, like, a woman could be harmed, and everything else goes out the window. You know, that woman, she has a nuclear bomb, but if we were to send a SWAT team, she might be harmed. Oh, well, I guess we'll just have to deal with the fact that she's now a nuclear-armed independent nation. Jesus. Consequences be damned. All right, let's keep going.
All right. So we're at the when do you want to check for? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When do you want to check for donations?
I am checking now, Brian. I'm checking.
All right.
Now.
All right.
Okay, so I'm doing another refresh. It looks like we got some. So thank you to everybody who put something through. We got $100 from Meredith G. Thank you, Meredith.
Oh, thank you, Meredith. Awesome. Here's a
yes.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
And we got $10 from Craig C. Thank you, Craig C.
Thank you, Craig C.
What?
Craig C. That's his name.
What?
Right. Yeah, Craig C.
Go on. Is that it?
Nope. We got $5 from. Actually, I'm going to go $25 from Egregious Charles. Thank you, Egregious.
Thank you, Egregious Charles.
And $5.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
That is our supporters. They are a wretched hive of scum and villainy, like us.
Like us. We're all a wretched hive of scum and villainy here. And Richard gives us $5.
I don't like you either. Okay. Well, who is who? Who was
Richard,
it?
Richard B. Gives $5. Right.
Thank you, Richard.
Execute Order 66.
Okay. No more Star Wars.
All
Anything
right.
else?
Yeah, so thank you to everyone, our very generous supporters, for supporting us. And if you would like to join them, once again, that's feedthebadger.com. I'll do another twisting at the hour, and hopefully we'll get this done. We have only about 3 days left, so please do, if you got them, put it in now. And we are still 3,000 from the goal. So we have a ways to go, although we have made it before in the past. We've made every month, so hopefully we'll make this one again. Once again, that's feedthebadger.com. You can follow the pop-ups or feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. And if you would like to send us messages during this show, please go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip, because you'll be able to send a message sans censorship, and we get the full benefit of the amount you send. So that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. If you want us to address anything or talk about anything, or you think we're missing something, or you just don't like my hyperbole, because some people are like, Alison, you're hysterical. I'm like, yeah, maybe you're right. But anyway, so if you want to send us a message, please send it to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right, let's see some more.
Let's play some more.
Chewbacca defense.
He has to show you that any defamatory implication was designed and intended. Look at number 4. Designed and intended by Ms. Heard to convey the defamatory meaning that he suggests. Just because people might read the article and remember, oh yeah, Amber Heard used to be married to Johnny Depp, and she accused him of abuse, that doesn't mean that she designed and intended defamatory implications in writing about herself. And think about it. If Mr. Depp is right, then virtually any statement that anyone could ever make about their own life that implies anything, implies any involvement with any other person, could be defamatory. And that's clearly not what the First Amendment intends.
That's a massive straw man. Holy shit.
Analyze it for us, Brian.
Well, I'm just saying, no, he's basically saying if anyone ever said anything that could be construed as something, then, you know, that would mean that people can seek litigious retribution. And that's just not the case. Like, Amber Heard wrote an article with a very specific goal. She didn't name Johnny, probably because she didn't want to be in the situation she's in now, but she clearly wrote the article, so she went for it regardless, and she got supported by everyone. But and now Depp is basically like, okay, I'm gonna stand up to this, and hell, like, he might actually lose, which would mean that people can write whatever they want about other people, and they don't have to worry about consequences. And so he's just making it absurd. He's just taking this and making it absurd. So,
yeah, it is. Well, I mean, that's basically in line with everything else.
Yeah, but like whenever someone starts a defense or a case for their argument, if you make a really strong case against them, and they start by making massive, broad brush statements like, oh, well, by that measure, that means anybody, anywhere could do this 100% of the time. And it's like, no, nobody believes that. Like, you know, that's a ridiculous argument. We're talking about this specific instance under these conditions with these details, and why in this case it doesn't apply. But see, he's going to do that. Let's make this about everyone. Example, you know, it's kind of like you could say in a way it's like a different version of the abortion debate, where people are saying that, you know, there should be strict limitations on abortion. And then you get people that come out and they say, well, what about rape and incest? Which is something that happens like less than 2% of the time, and that most abortions are just women saying, you know what, I don't want to. And so but they make that defense, and then people rush to, get deal with that. And it's just the Mott and Bailey thing, right? They rush to protect that, and then they ignore that there's a bigger issue that's going on and they're being manipulated. So he's sort of doing this with the jury, in my opinion. So maybe I didn't bring about a really good example, but I think you guys know what I mean.
The abortion one, because the thing is, I'm pro-choice, and I'm like, oh god. But I actually don't like any argument.
Yeah, but the problem that it doesn't really matter if you are pro-choice or not. My central point is that there isn't a real discussion of the issue taking place if someone is bringing in these fringe things in and then making them the normal. Yeah. I don't like the dodging the question and yeah, like he's basically saying this isn't. I suppose this has some legitimacy, because let's say if it was a frivolous claim of defamation, and if they did find for the plaintiff in a more frivolous case, which I don't think this is. Mm-hmm. I think he has a really solid case, especially after she admitted that she wrote the damn op-ed about him, which anybody could have inferred that it was about him based on contextual cues. And that is where the whole crux of this defamation trial lies. This is Depp's weakest point, which is proving that Amber Heard, or that connecting a op-ed that doesn't actually mention him to the overall context where it's very obvious that it is actually about him. And that's where there's a gray area, and you can put it can be very difficult to bridge that gray area, as I also experienced. So again, this is not Rottenbaum's worst argument. If he's saying, well, if this is a frivolous defamation case, if people allow this to happen, but he has there's a lot of evidence that the person that Amber was referring to was Johnny Depp in that op-ed, and that publishing that op-ed caused him significant harm. Yeah. Even though he wasn't specifically mentioned, even before she admitted to the fact that it was about him, and it was about him because he could bring apparently to bear all of this power to protect himself and assert his own version of events. Yeah.
Which, yeah, where? I mean, literally, this guy was completely hooped until he got the actual evidence in the public eye. Okay, but anyway.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that in order, because again, he's making this about free speech, and in order to demonstrate, to make your case for libel, you have to show that the libelous stuff hurt you. In some way, like it financially hurt you, or, you lost work or whatever. And Johnny Depp was able to bring that forward. Everybody knows that he was kicked off of the Pirates and what's the other one? Enchanted Beasts or something franchise. Yeah. I mean, they blatantly are releasing the new one with a different guy. It's, I forget his name, but I like him, the actor, Mads Mikkelsen. And, so obviously everyone knows that he lost work, and God knows what other projects. So that actually hurt him, his career, his job, and his economic status, he's got to raise children and all that. And then there is the harm, and I think this is actually probably of greater concern to Depp, that it did to his relationships with friends, as well as his children and his children's relationships. Because my understanding is, according to Greg Ellis, who was a friend of Johnny's, is that his kids were bullied, or, they were bullied or, talked about in school. Like there were people, starting sort of social aggression against his kids because they thought that their dad was a wife beater, and they all went along with that. And a lot of it, after the Sun won its case against Depp, I think that they doubled down on those assertions, because they were like, well, look, he lost, and clearly he's a wife beater. And of course, we have absolutely no mercy for people who we believe are wife beaters, because we live in a society that hates women.
Well, if this has been true for a long time too.
Yeah.
The condemnation of wife beaters is age old. Like you look at
Oh yeah, of course.
even in the Roman era, like
Mhm.
wife beating was really looked down on, was with disgust. So this is a condemnation that's age old. And instead of actually inventing that condemnation, like the ideology piggybacked on it to promote itself. So this
Yep.
is not it's exactly as you said. Like we have to the point of even abusing the children of a wife beater. We despise wife beaters.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but
No.
wouldn't it be nice if we gave men the benefit of the doubt and also recognized that husband beaters are pretty freaking despicable too?
Yep.
Anyway, so let's
All
hear
right.
more from
Let's keep
Rottenbaum.
going.
The most aptly
Named.
titled.
Named. Rottenborn. I think it's Rottenborn.
Rottenborn?
Yeah.
I thought it was Baum.
I think that's is it. It might be. I don't know. I'm gonna call him Rottenborn. It's like
Rottenbottom.
It's like some character from Harry Potter. Okay.
Rottenbottom.
Yeah, Rottenbottom.
She didn't design and intend the words to be the equivalent of writing Johnny Depp abused me. And you don't have to take her words for it. You can take the words of Terrence Doherty of the ACLU. He said that the op-ed wasn't even Miss Heard's idea.
The ACLU are scum.
Wrote the first draft, and great care was taken in drafting the article so as not to make it about Mr. Depp or Miss Heard's relationship with him.
So the ACLU is shit, and they are not what they claim to be, and we know that. They're just like they are just like the SPLC and the ADL. I don't know how they make a bunch of money off of what they do, but they do. And they were the ones that wrote the first draft of Heard's op-ed, which means that she wasn't likely all that. I mean, she may have like told them what to write, but they are the ones that ultimately wrote it. So the ACLU is trash, and he's using them as a source of legitimacy, because the average person he's banking on the notion that the average person doesn't think the ACLU is shit, that they're actually like that they're like a good organization that cares about women. I think they're basically like a civil rights organization or something.
Or they were a lot better, shall we say, but then they seem to go to the dark side. But the thing is that you're absolutely right. Normal people are not like us. We have been following the malfeasance of a lot of different institutions for a very long time.
Yeah.
And we've seen the corruption seep in. We've seen the absolutely egregious behavior. But for the most part, they still coast on their good name. And people should question a good name, because what I've seen happen is somebody will set something up in every intent, like good-heartedly, with every intent to do good in the world. They establish a good name, and then inevitably they either burn out or they die or they move on. And people who want to use that good name to shroud nefarious intentions will start to crowd in. That's why I always endeavor to have a terrible name.
Mm-hmm.
to be literally derided as horrible, because then I know. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But this is something you need to be alert for, that when people espouse, especially empty rhetoric like, oh, we're for equality, look at what they're actually doing. Don't just listen to the PR. Carefully watch what they're doing, because that's who they really are. And speaking of doing, once again, I'm going to remind everybody we're doing our monthly fundraiser for this content. And if you would like to join our generous supporters, please go to feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz, or go to feedthebadger.com and follow the pop-ups. I will see where we're at. Okay, so Yeah, I'm just we got one new support. Actually, no, this is a super chat. We got a super chat or super chow. Sorry.
Super Chow, yeah.
Yes, let us play the super chow music. We don't have super chow music, do we?
I wouldn't know what that would sound like. Sorry.
So Teflon Soul sends us $100.
Yeah, go
Through
ahead.
Super Chow, which doesn't go to the fundraiser, but thank you, Teflon Soul, and gets a completely free of censorship message to us saying, helping the Badgers keep the lights on and the computers running. And you must have remembered, Teflon Soul, that the Super Chows go to the Badger Cave. So thank you. Thank you for that. And once again, if you would like to send us a message that's completely free of censorship, go to feedthebadger.com/projects, except our own, like sometimes, or sorry, feedthebadger.com/justthetip, except our own, sometimes we don't want to say the N word 50 billion times on air because,
I don't know if that's really even worth the money
no,
to spend on it. So
no, it's not.
You guys can do
so
better than
juvenile.
that. Yeah, it's a little
so
juvenile.
Yeah. And
So
yeah, so but this, thank you again, Teflon Soul, that will definitely go to keeping the lights on in the Badger Cave. And if you would like to join our generous supporters, again, it is feedthebadger.com/project/justthetip. We are almost at 1,000. So anyone want to be that last $5 to get us to 1,000? That would be really appreciated. Feedthebadger.com. All right.
And I got a couple of super chats here. Ciara de Flora gives us $5 and says, my mom noticed the Bruise kit in the photo of JD, that's Johnny Depp, with melted ice cream in his lap. I don't recall if anyone else did in the trial.
Yes, well, not in the trial, but a whole bunch of people noticed it on social media.
Yeah.
Deceptive human beings, right?
Yeah, I saw it on social media. All right. Albert Nada Retro gives us $10 Canadian and says, really enjoyed that monologue Hannah posted the other day. Good to have that history on VAWA versus that bill Ronald Reagan passed in the 80s. Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
All right.
Yes. Yeah, we're very, very entertained by the antics of certain ideological advocacy groups to obfuscate.
Obfuscate. There you go.
Obfuscate the situation for domestic violence, thus making sure that we still have to deal with it generation upon generation and never actually reduce the instance of victims of domestic violence. Yay! Because what's really important is that we push an ideology, and people pushing that ideology get paychecks for pushing an ideology that will ensure that the thing they supposedly advocate for never ends.
All right. Yep, that's true.
I am very entertained.
All right,
Can you not hear it in my voice?
Yeah,
let us continue.
Let us continue.
That's the only evidence presented about Ms. Heard's motive, except her statements that was exactly what she wanted to do. She wanted to talk about her experiences after Johnny Depp. Ms. Heard didn't write the headline. She didn't approve the headline. She had nothing to do with it. She was not given notice of the headline. She testified.
So she has nothing to do with this article. Now he's basically saying this is on the ACLU because they're the ones that wrote it, or the Washington Post for printing it. I mean, I'm okay with this. I mean, to some degree, I think.
Here's the problem. And people have said that, online, the Amber Heard defenders are like, well, she always admitted to writing it, and she always did that. That wasn't her admitting it that she wrote it about Johnny Depp. But he's not even addressing the fact that she admitted to writing it, and she admitted to writing it about Johnny Depp. He's just like, no, it's like that didn't happen in his world. This didn't happen. And it's likely he's doing this because he doesn't want to draw attention to it because it is so damning. So he's just like, yeah, that's something that just, we're just going to pretend that didn't happen. I'm not going to address it at all. That we're just no, that didn't happen. Not going to even talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again, this must be Entertainment Tonight's belief about the highlights of their defense. Like I said, his last point isn't bad. If Amber Heard hadn't basically confessed to having written the op-ed about Johnny Depp on stand, and if all of the contextual cues that this op-ed was about him didn't exist, it would be a good argument. Like, once again, you're making a great argument for a trial that you're not in.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
All
keep
right,
going.
let's keep going.
That's just my layperson's opinion. I'm not a law tuber.
Assault that she experienced at the hands of Mr. Depp. You saw her testify about that they're calling her a liar. You saw her on the stand testify with your own mouth, with her own mouth, exactly what she went through for the first time in court, because people who have suffered that, they don't want to broadcast that to the world. They want to penalize Ms. Heard for not speaking about that earlier. That's ridiculous, and it's insulting, and it's just victim blaming at its most disgusting.
Bring in the feminist terminology. Victim blaming. And this is what now he's making the case that, and remember, we're talking about defamation and look at Depp. He's like, what the fuck? He's now making the argument that to essentially say Amber Heard is lying is victim blaming. So now we don't even, he's basically saying we shouldn't look at the evidence. You just can't do that to women. You can't do that to this woman especially. So.
Yeah, well, again, to play devil's advocate, what else is he going to say, right?
Well, I know he's in a tough situation because he has to essentially like double down on this narrative and hope it's enough. On the other hand, let's go into reversal world, right? Let's imagine that it's I don't know, Arnold Heard versus Jane Depp, and Arnold Heard's lawyers getting up there and saying, this is classic victim blaming, even though my client has admitted on a tape to hitting Jane. Sorry, not punching, just hitting Jane. The fact is that it's if you actually reverse all of this, it becomes so apparent. The bias becomes so obvious. Yeah.
He would never. This wouldn't be what his closing statement if he was defending a man, because it would be considered to be absurd. Okay, he would probably keep his closing statement entirely to, did they prove did they prove financial harm as a result of Arnold publishing the op-ed that allegedly fingered Jane as the abuser? They would keep it to that, because that is the only real place that they have any traction. They have no they would have no traction. If they were defending a man, they would have no traction under the idea that he didn't engage in abuse. And actually, they probably wouldn't have gotten this far if Amber was a man, because Jane would have been believed day one with that evidence. Let's be honest, folks. If Jane came forward with a tape in which Arnold is doing everything that's Amber's doing in these tapes, Jane would never have been subject to what Johnny was subject to from day one. And first of all, she would have Me Too behind her. So the instant that Arnold went into a court and started publishing this stuff, he would be subject to unbelievable levels of scrutiny by Me Too, as they do with every single male victim that came forward. Okay? And those were just male victims. Well, unless they were pointing fingers at a male aggressor. So this would look vastly different if Amber was Arnold. Arnold would be 100% considered the abuser from day one. once that tape surfaced.
Absolutely.
Oh, lady, I didn't punch you. I don't know what you think. I just hit you. Case closed.
Yep.
That would be the end of it. That would have been the end of it 6 years ago. It wasn't, because Arnold isn't Arnold. Arnold is Amber. And Jane isn't Jane. Jane is Johnny. And nobody can argue any different, that this wouldn't have ended completely differently from day one.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hey, we got 120 people watching. You guys all
Wow.
hit that like button. Yeah, guys, hit that like button because it really helps us out, and we can, reach more. So we're gonna continue with the closing arguments. Thank you for joining us on the stream. Really appreciate it. Shout out to the chat. It's the best chat on YouTube. All right, let's continue.
The only reference to sexual assault in the article, and you can read the op-ed, is sexual assault that she said she had experienced by the time she was of college age, before Mr. Depp. So there is a reference to sexual violence in that article, but it's not by Mr. Depp. And Mr. Depp can't hold her liable for a headline she didn't write, that contained something that had nothing, that was not about him. And they want you to think that she republished the headline by tweeting out the link to the online version. So let's look at this.
All right, I'm just pausing it there. Who's this Goomba in the back? Notice he's now talking about sexual violence, but no one brought up sexual violence. He's bringing it up, and now he's saying Amber Heard, I guess she wrote in her op-ed, that she experienced sexual violence when she was in college, which again, we just have to take at her word. We don't even, even though we see that she is not above lying, like anyone who's paying attention to the details can see that. If she says that, something sexually happened to her when she was in college, we just have to accept that. It's just reality. This is what happens to girls in college. It's very common, right? So
I got another
ahead.
super chat we should probably address, and a thank you.
A super chow?
Yeah, super chow. So Cam D sent $25 to our fundraiser, so thank you, Cam D. And if you would like to join him, feedthebadger.com/projects/padger-media-blitz. And we are over the top. So we got our first 1,000. Thank you, everyone.
Woo!
We still have another 3 to go. But hopefully
Nice.
we'll get that by the end of the month.
Absolutely.
All right. So the super chow is from the Great Indoors. It's $20. It's regard to the Lotus Eaters podcast. And he says, have you seen the latest video by the Lotus Eaters regarding this trial? They claim that female MRAs think that no woman should be trusted, while at the beginning of their video, they also claim that most women were against Heard because she might destroy their special privilege of being believed regardless amount of evidence. If this is really the reason why women have turned against Heard, then women as a group indeed shouldn't be trusted. Sargon also came on Rakita Law as a guest and made a similar statement as the Lotus Eaters. Well, I don't know if your paraphrase is accurate to what Sargon or his
team
said. I would have to look at it myself to ascertain that, although that's really... And the reason why I say that is because when they say that female MRAs think that no woman should be trusted, yes, and neither should any man making an allegation. Nobody should be given 100% trust off the bat when you are in a position of harm to another party if you believe their allegation. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you can't just believe someone. I'm hearing the echo again, Brian. All right.
I'm sorry.
You guys hearing? So you can't just believe someone who brings forward an allegation if you are in a position to cause harm as a result of believing that allegation. So it's not that we don't believe women shouldn't be trusted. Women should be trusted when they bring forward claims of victimhood to people who are tasked with investigating them, like the police. They should be the police should still have some amount of doubt in terms of gathering evidence because they're trying to find out what happened, of course. They should be believed when they approach services, But when you're in a position of actually causing additional harm by believing a person's allegations, you should look at the evidence before you do that. That's what we mean. And that's true for men, and it's true for women if they make allegations. So I don't know if the meaning of what Sargon and his team was saying was lost in your comment, but if he thinks that female MRAs, at least I can't speak for all female MRAs, maybe Roma said something. I don't speak for her, and she doesn't speak for me. But this is what I believe. We need to trust evidence.
Yeah,
not people.
I would just add that from what I know about the way that the Lotus Eaters tend to cover these issues that are usually connected to the relationship between men and women, and and feminism, which is the dominant way that people see the world of men and women. I guess I'm inclined to be more sympathetic, even if maybe they're a little bit clumsy in the way that they say things. But I think the most important thing is not obviously we should try to be as objective as possible when dealing with any case, any allegations, even some that might appear to be trivial. I wouldn't say this is trivial, but things that could be resolved in civil court as opposed to, say, criminal courts. But the main problem is that women are incentivized by the system as it exists to exploit it in the ways that they do. So the reason why we should be and remain, say, skeptical of women when they make allegations, because I think in general when men make allegations, we're already inclined to do that because they don't really benefit that much from the system. But because women do, I think that we should be skeptical, at least to the same degree that we would if it was a man, which is what Alison is saying. But the problem is that, again, the domestic violence industry, and all of the other related legal and political apparatuses, they all essentially favor the woman and the female perspective. So this means that it incentivizes women to use the system to harm men, or to use the system to benefit at the expense of men, or whatever it is. And they do. So, it's sort of like, if you don't want women to be considered untrustworthy, stop incentivizing them to behave in untrustworthy ways, because they will. And if you did that to men, in a context that made sense, they would probably be tempted to do the same. So I think that the important thing is to focus on the fact that it's the way that our laws, and then when you couple that with our own bias towards protecting women, that only makes it worse, because it means that more women can use the system to get more at the expense of men more, because we are more likely to be like, well, she's a woman, she must be in trouble. So
and it's not even about the inherent morality of women, because to be honest with these tools, a woman has to be a saint. We're expecting such a level of saintliness from women. It's in order to just to be a decent person, because it must be so tempting in many cases when you're highly to use the system against somebody who's pissing you off. And it may be, you might look at it as it's credit that most women don't do this. Let's be honest, most women don't end up in this. We're looking at 50% divorce. Yeah,
but all women can.
But all women can, and that's the problem. That is. So it's not that all women do; it's that all women can. Yes. And in that circumstance, you have to be very careful about the women that you believe, because they do have the institutional bias for them. And if you want a rundown of that institutional bias, you can take a look at our video, the one reason why Johnny Depp could lose that nobody's talking about, where Hannah gives you a rundown of where that institutional bias started and how it's been promoted. And then there's also the cultural bias. We want to protect and provide for women. It's an instinct, because women represent the next generation. They represent the existential the very existence of your tribe, of your culture, of your nationality, of the who you are and what you belong to. Women represent the future of that in a psychological sense. So there's that cultural bias towards women. There's a woman that's wonderful effect. There's a simple proof of this. If you watch any movie and some event happens, they will then pan to a woman to see her reaction, and that reaction by that woman is supposed to show the audience how they're supposed to feel about the event that just happened, because women influence our perception of how things are perceived, our judgments, our moral and emotional judgments about things. So this is a huge power, and so we do need to retain some skepticism, and we also need to retain skepticism when men make allegations as well. And we need to believe the evidence. That's what we should be doing. And it holds for men and women. But anyway, so like Brian said, I don't know what the specifically. I can't hold them to like every specific thing they said either, because they're probably live too. And sometimes, you start saying something and you're like, oh wait, this isn't quite correct. But then you just got to finish. You got to commit to it, and then it's just out there, and then you're like, okay, well, that wasn't exactly what I wanted to say. But then you've moved on to a new topic, so I can understand that. Sometimes
I've never heard them dog us as MRAs or MRAs in general, because Carl likes me. I mean, so I'm not worried about that. I think, he probably thinks you're all right. But no, I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm kidding.
No, but he doesn't think I'm all right.
No. But anyway, my point is that because I think they're all like on the similar page as the MRAs. They just don't do, like a lot of men's issues content. But I think they're doing more and more of it. And that's good. I've actually seen a lot of conservative commentators pick up MRA talking points and use them lately, especially in, like, for example, after this like Texas shooting. I was expecting, because when these things happen, the media picks a story and they say, we're going to use this to push this political thing. And when the Texas shooting happened, they made it about guns because the person who did the shooting was Latino and the people he shot were also Latino. So they couldn't make it into a race thing. So they just said, we're going to make this about guns. And I was concerned that there were going to be like waves and waves of conservative commentators coming out and making pro Second Amendment arguments, which I agree with 100%. Obviously, but that's not really the important issue. Obviously, this is the tool that the media is going to use, but what they need to do is they need to bang on the, what's going on. What do all these kids have in common? What is in their behavior? What is in their history? What is in their past that it links them together? And the truth is, most of the time, they come from fatherless homes. And this is a product of single motherhood, coupled with all of the other systems that essentially ensure that women, can just have kids without dads around, and that inevitably leads to these problems. And they're doing that. They're bringing that up. They're saying, the issue is single motherhood, and there's an issue with the way that our culture treats our boys. And they're saying that. And I'm like, I'm so glad, I'm hearing this more and more, and they're identifying the real problem, because like if you get distracted and you end up talking about guns, you're just going to end up putting like automated turrets on schools, and there are still going to be kids that are troubled and suicidal that are going to try and take everyone down with them or get some attention. And so you're not dealing with the main thing. And what this is going to require, just in closing, is I know that this show isn't about that, is that people have the ability to call women out for what they do and how they contribute. And that is the real challenge. So
the next step for conservatives would be to recognize that the policies that they put in place around welfare actually made it so that women had to make a decision between keeping a man in the home and having more money, which has got to be like, yes, women need to be held accountable for their own decisions, but it comes back to it's about what women can do and what women are incentivized to do by this system.
Mhm.
it has got to be a really hard decision to make, to say, okay, I can keep the father of my kids in the home, or I can get more money. And that's what we did to poor women,
Yeah.
and started them down this horrible path, this spiral of poverty. But I mean, they need to be held accountable, definitely. But honestly, can you not see how that's just a horrible, horrible position to be put somebody into?
Yeah.
You know, you
Well,
can get more money, but you have to get rid of the father of your children. And
Yeah.
that was a conservative thing. That was we shouldn't give women money if they have an able-bodied man in the house. Well, you know, actually, if conservatives had not had that level of misandry, we might have been a lot better off. Because even if a man isn't working, if he's around his kids, they're more likely to get themselves out of poverty. Instead, we baked poverty into welfare, and it's horrible. So, I mean, I'm just putting that other perspective out there. And like I said, I would never be against women taking responsibility, but I also think we need to take responsibility for putting these moral dilemmas in women's lives that shouldn't be there in the first place. Like being able to destroy a man with a false accusation. Now, having said that, I'm pretty sure Amber Heard would do everything in her power to destroy Johnny Depp, regardless of the tools that she's granted by the institution. My God, her cheekbones are distracting. I'm sorry. Like, what the hell? Did you implant goddamn sausages in there?
It looks. I think it's the makeup. It's,
okay, all right.
Isn't she a spokesperson for L'Oreal or Revlon or something? I don't know.
Something.
She is though. She's got and they haven't canceled her contract or anything. So
I've heard that she has cheek implants. I'm just saying they're distracting.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's a little bit Maleficent, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna. She is going for the Maleficent look. Yeah.
Maleficent look.
Anyway.
Oh man. Okay, when she grows up, or when she gets older, she's gonna get like, who's the fairest in the land? Okay, I'm
all right.
being bad.
I got some super chats. So Albert Nader Retro gives us $5 Canadian and says, I only made the "Are you not entertained" comment because it's my favorite soundbite in Brian's collection. Thank you, Albert. Senior Sticks gives us $5 and says, the time of women needing protection in the USA is gone, or at least needs changing. If women are equals, they must be under the law and treated as humans. Yeah. It's something that we're having a really hard time backing away from, but I think that it's getting closer. I think that men are really getting sick of this shit. Derek Workman is giving us $5 and says, could HBR talk about the APA's guideline on treatment and men and boys with regards to school shooters? Well, I don't know if they have something specific for school shooters, which is a bit weird, but I do know that the APA guidelines for just treating men is kind of garbage. It's absolutely garbage. And even men.
Yeah, the treatment is basically, stop being men.
Yeah, stop being men. It's
then
your
you'll
fault.
Be better.
You're a piece of shit. So
it is pretty awful. I mean, we're making fun of it, but it is pretty gross.
Yeah.
And it's like all about traditional masculinity and getting like purging traditional masculinity, and really there is no scientific basis that masculinity is why men have mental health problems. So their sense of the behavioral repertoire that is consistent with a higher level of testosterone, because this is not just men, it's also masculine women who tend to have those kind of behaviors, not to the same degree as men, I won't say that, but when in fact, when you look at the actual studies on psychological well-being and coping, men cope better than women. Masculine individuals cope better than feminine individuals, and they have better ability to, if something bad happens, not necessarily to internalize it, but to look to their actions to overcome it. So men's masculinity is actually a positive factor in their mental health. It's a good thing. Yeah. The problem is that we ask a lot of men, a hell of a lot. And when they stumble under how much we ask of them, we tend to regard them as burdens, which is exactly what the APA, the American Psychological Association, is doing. That's exactly the same dynamic that they're doing. Men have mental health issues. Men with mental health issues have them because they choose to attach to an identity, a traditionally masculine identity of stoicism. That's why they have the mental health. So the mental health issues are their fault. They are the ones who are responsible for them. So they are the burden. And we're not responsible for them as the Psychology Association. It's actually our patients who are doing everything wrong. If they did what we tell them to do, they would be mentally healthy. And this is such a contemptuous and hateful approach. I am not surprised that men find psychology useless. They don't go to psychologists, or they do go to psychologists, and they still find it useless.
Yep.
So, it's like that is okay. Where do we launch off from this? I'm a little bit.
Well, it was Derek Workman's super chat about the APA.
Oh, they have no guidelines.
Yeah, it's just dogma. It's not useful. I think that men are better off either avoiding therapy and and all that altogether, because it's only going to make that worse, or they have to seek out very specific
pro-male.
Pro-male areas.
Like,
so for example,
Dr. Curry in the trial.
Yeah, Dr. Curry, or if you are in the UK, Dr. John Barry. He works at the it used to be called the Male Psychology Network, but it has a new name now. I did an interview with him not long ago, so you can look it up. It was on a fireside chat. Probably can find it on Rumble. Or there are some men that are trying to do that are trying to make a difference, and they're trying to bring the male perspective. Tara Palmatier is good. And I
also like to do a shout out for what we do. For our patrons, we have a community that's supportive. Of course, it's the main active area is the patron area. The free area tends to be not quite as active, but what we do is it's more like a community-based support. So instead of treating people's mental health issues or their problematic thoughts in isolation, it's more as part of a community thing. So if you have a problem, you go to the room that's set aside for talking about mental health issues, but it's still with the same people that you game with, that you go and you do events with, that you watch movies with, and then you talk to in other contexts. So rather than taking men who are maybe struggling with being disappointed with maybe where they are in their work life, or where they are in other goals in their life, or dealing with anxious thoughts or any kind of mental health issues, and taking them and isolating them either to like a group therapy or a therapist, you sort of help them in a community setting. And so it doesn't become something that isolates you, and instead becomes something that joins you with others. That's the kind of model that I'm trying to pursue. Although I am not like a psychologist, I'm just somebody who's looking at this, having researched quite a bit of it, and seen how I think men process things, and also how a lot of the way that we approach mental health is very isolated and makes the individual feel like there's something wrong with them. And I think that compounds over time, because you can have negative thoughts and you think, oh, I'm the only person who thinks these things. I'm the only person who struggles with this. But when you're confronted with other people who have almost the same thoughts, you realize that no, everybody does, or a lot more people than what they're saying. So this isn't something that isolates me as uniquely having a unique problem. This is something everyone struggles with. This is a burden that everyone has. And together we can make it lighter for each other. That's sort of like a community-based intervention, in my opinion. And I think that it's been helpful. Like I can't really say I don't want to put words in the guys' mouths who take part in this, but they have said it is helpful. And I've seen a lot of progress, like being able to start going back to work, being able to overcome phobias, being able to deal with like negative thoughts about things in their lives that feel like are intractable, and also a greater level of support for each other. So like I said, there is finding a therapist that you know is not going to cause you additional harm because they are pro-male, and they look at things from a pro-male identity perspective. So instead of tearing down your identity as a man, they'll help you build it up, which one of the most insightful things I ever heard in terms of psychology and identity was actually from Michael McEwen. I think it's Michael McEwen, or is it
I don't know.
Marshall McEwen?
Marshall.
And he said that people who don't have an identity become violent. And this is in relation to school shootings. When you strip young men of a positive identity through their masculinity, through their identity with the behaviors that they instinctually pursue as young men, and turning those behaviors into positive things that help assist and create a better society, that's a positive identity. When you strip young men of that, they're more likely to embrace violence. Full stop. They'll either embrace random acts of violence because it gets them attention, or they'll embrace organized violence like terrorist violence because it gets them a community and an identity that way. So the more you tear boys down, the more you tear down their identities, the more you encourage violence. And most of the violence will be self-directed. Most of those boys will just commit suicide.
Yeah.
And that's, but the APA will, the APA will never admit something like that because their stock and trade is to tear down men's identity.
Yep.
All right. Shall we, this has been a long digression.
Yeah, I was ready to move on a while ago. So thank you for the super chat, Derek. Shall we continue the video then?
Yes, indeed.
All right.
This is the tweet that she sent on December 19th. The hyperlink says, opinion Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence. That's the online version of the article. As Ms.
Let me read her tweet, just because I don't know if the lawyer is going to read it. Amber Heard. Today I published this op-ed in the Washington Post about the women who are channeling their rage about violence and inequality into political strength despite the price of coming forward. From college campuses to Congress, we are balancing the scales. So, just saying, this is a very political tweet. So, just right off the bat, she's talking about shit that has nothing to do with her personal life, inequality, and all that, right? I don't know if I'm just saying this is what, you should see this, because the reason I believe that so much rides on this is because it's political for the people that are supporting Amber Heard, for the people who have wrote these op-eds, for the media, this is a big deal to them. So, and it has nothing to do with Amber Heard. It has everything to do with what they're protecting, which is the narrative.
I just want to say one thing. Of course, it's political, because she's using the political to buttress the fact that she doesn't have any evidence, and there's significant evidence that she abused Johnny. And that's what a lot of female abusers will do. And now male abusers, what they seem to do is they seem to get into the whole, well, I am espousing all of this feminist talking points. That makes me one of the good men. And anything that I do that's against women is actually just because I'm a man. So I share that with all men, right? My abusive behavior is shared with all men, but my personal choice to be a feminist is what makes me a good person, despite my abusive behavior, which is really the responsibility of men in general. It's not my personal responsibility. This is what I've seen. Okay, so I just want to we got another $10. From, just a sec, it's taking a little while, Silver Bullet. So thank you, Silver Bullet, for that $10. Again, we are doing our monthly fundraiser. It is really critical for you, if you are able to help us out so we can continue to make this content. It is very unique content because we don't take a political side necessarily. There's some of us who are more conservative. There are some of us who are Republicans. But we are not on a political side when we advocate for men. So we call out the conservative mistakes that have been made in terms of advocacy for men. We call out the liberal or the left mistakes that have been made that in terms of advocacy for men, and we advocate for all men. And we also point out that if you refuse to address the issues of half your population, your society will eventually collapse. Like there's no way around it. If you just don't care about half your population, even if you convinced yourself, if you have convinced yourself that for some reason they have been cared about too much throughout human history, I don't know how you square that with men being conscripted to go die in meat grinders, but whatever. Society has cared more about the group of people that it expects to sacrifice should the need arise than women. You know, if you believe that, the fact that we aren't caring about men now is going to eventually become a problem. I mean, whenever that theoretical point comes where men have, we've cared about women enough and it's equal to the amount of care we've had for history, and we just keep going caring about women and not caring about men, eventually we'll hit that theoretical point and then everything will crater, because we need to care about men and their issues to have healthy men, and we need healthy men because men are responsible for a great deal of the work that keeps society going. We ignore them and we won't have one for very long. And we are the ones that point that out repeatedly. So if you want to make sure that that kind of message doesn't disappear into the night, go to feedthebadger.com/projects. Brian, I'm going to need.
There's a link in the description.
There you go. So you can also click on our banner.
Yeah, it's right there. There's a link right at the bottom.
Project/badger-media-blitz.
Yeah.
All right. And please do put some every $5. So even if you're thinking, oh, all I have is $5, every $5 is it gets us over the line. So please take the time to do that. All right.
I got a super chat from Albert Nader Retro again for $5 Canadian. He says, has Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers contacted you for fireside chat? He said he'd look into it. I haven't heard anything from anyone. So sorry, not yet.
A Twitter?
I don't know how he would reach us. Like, does he know? Because, if he's on Twitter, he could do it through Twitter. If not that, I think you can send messages through YouTube. But maybe he should know that we have a Twitter at HoneyBadgerBite.
Yeah, at HoneyBadgerBite.
Yeah, and then you can maybe tag him in a tweet or something.
At HoneyBadgerBite.
And tell him that you sent the super chat. At HoneyBadgerBite. Allison,
I think I just crashed.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Let me see.
Oh, wait, I'm back. Don't worry about it.
All right. I was just saying, I heard you. I was talking, but I heard you. All right. Anyway, at HoneyBadgerBite. So, maybe tag him in something and we'll see. I've also reached out to a number of people. I'm working out a good time. Black Pigeon Speaks is one of them, which I'm excited about because he made this video from a few years ago that got him in more trouble than any other video he ever made. And he talks about geopolitical stuff, but he made this one video called How Women Can Destroy Civilizations. And that's the thing that got him in the most hot water. And it was more like he was cautioning, So I was like, well, I'm going to talk to him about, his work and what he's been doing.
I think what happens with civilizations, and I think we're seeing it in real time, is they just protect and provide women to death.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. They protect and provide for women until they implode. And women are basically happy to let them. And that's where things are. I mean, I'm not blaming them. I'm saying that they, again, if you incentivize bad behavior, you're going to get bad behavior. So
yeah, but on the other hand, it's what I was going to say is most women, they don't necessarily.
No, it
really,
doesn't.
they're just trying to do it.
Yeah,
they're just trying to get by.
it only takes a small percentage.
Well,
I think.
what I'm trying to get at here is like most women have, like most men have an, like sort of an average sense of morality, an average sense of what they want out of life.
Yeah.
And it's harder to just project out the overall actions. I mean, if the average man could, they might pull back on being the big simp, They might project that out and say, hey, we might be providing women to the detriment of everyone at this point because we're dismantling things like due process and innocent before proven guilty and any kind of men's legal protections against female false accusers, which if you think about it, if a woman who is a very cutthroat, sociopathic, narcissistic, social climber can use a false accusation to get rid of her rivals, and not just male rivals, but also female rivals, because usually those women really play the game. Women know exactly what, and they can pick off their female rivals too. That creates an incredibly unstable system. It's a system that's entirely around people's ability to destroy each other. Like how that's not a system that's going to hold up, But anyway, I agree that yes, we have to hold women to account. And to be honest, I don't think it's a bad thing to hold women to a standard of responsibility, because how else do you develop as a person?
Yeah, no,
like,
I
what's
think
the point of being alive?
Yeah, no, it's
You're a consequence-free blob.
It just makes common sense. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
All right, but let's continue. I do have one more super chat. I'm just going to read it really quick. Albernator Retro gives us $5 Canadian and says, "Don't have Twitter, but I'll let him know about @honeybadger by ASAP." Okay, so let us continue with the closing argument.
You can't attach. You can't tweet a piece of paper. So when she wanted to share that she had written this article, what choice does she have? She has to attach that link. And
I thought it was the ACLU that wrote it.
The jury instructions that you have make clear
who knows?
A hyperlink is not republication. Forwarding a link on does not mean that you broadcast the statement again, but that's what they want to make you think. The only way...
Wait a second, stop.
You have
hyperlink is not republication?
Yeah, like if you put a hyperlink on Twitter and then tweet it out, you're not broadcasting that?
No, sir. No. You're putting it, maybe embedding a link in like an op-ed or something. No, that was a publication. Come on, don't be silly.
This is desperate.
Yeah, it is desperate, but think about what they're trying to defend against, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
God, I'm getting flashbacks to our trial.
Yeah, it's silly, isn't it?
Well,
yeah.
need to read through them in detail now, but the republication instruction says that merely linking to an article does not amount to republication, but adding content to a linked article may constitute republication.
Okay, well, what did she do? Her tweet was content added to that hyperlink. Okay. Oh my goodness. I mean, yeah, I guess you can make the argument, like if you create a link in a document you put up on your blog, that you're not republishing the material, because people are passively, like your audience is being passively introduced to it. But when you tweet something out like that, that's different. Especially when you add stuff like he's saying. She added a tweet to the hyperlink. I'm actually curious, like, does anything qualify on the internet as republication if Amber Heard's tweet of this hyperlink doesn't qualify as republication?
It's a good question. I don't have an answer. My brain is full of fuck right now.
She basically just created another summary of the article and then put it out to all of her followers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. On
So she made
Twitter,
comments
which anyone
on
could come
Twitter.
across. So it's not a private thing. It's not like she was in some secret, group or something. It was like on
Layer.
Twitter, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, well, anyway, shall we keep going?
Let's go on with this.
All right.
This Rottenborn. You're right. It's Rottenborn. It's not
Yeah,
Rottenborn.
it's Rottenborn. He sounds like a Smurfs villain. He sounds like a villain from the cartoon show The Gummy Bears, So like a Captain Planet CEO of an oil company or something.
Whether any added content was intended to reach a new audience. And if you find any content added to the hyperlink was intended to reach a new audience, it constitutes a republication. There was no content added to the article. Let me be very clear.
Wait.
All right.
There was no content added to the article, except for her commentary, her Twitter.
Yeah, where she links to it. I mean, he's trying to say technically it's not in the article itself, therefore it's not added to it, but I don't think that's going to fly.
I really don't know where the hell he's
going with this. It's cope.
Yeah, it does feel like a lot of cope. Like publishing a hyperlink is not republishing, yes, but maybe. But this isn't like passively dropping a document. This is pushing it out to people. It'd be like saying that. I mean, by this logic, if you created an ad and had a hyperlink to, then that wouldn't be publication. That wouldn't be publicizing it either. Public.
Right.
Well, I guess it wouldn't be republishing, but it definitely is publicizing.
Perhaps. I don't look, I don't know the legalese of all this. I know that it seems to me that he's trying to like play, he's trying to fuck with people and dizzy them with his, wordplay of like using this term or that term and saying, well, he's literally doing a well, actually right now and saying, well, actually, and then, does the jury know? Like, they're just like, what do you mean? Like, it's not a republication. But I think that's what's going on. He's basically getting really, really lawyerish right now.
Yeah, that's not really our forte. I mean, you'd have to go to a lawyer tube guy for this.
Yeah, like a Nick Rakita type.
It seems sketch to us. It seems sketch, but our forte is ferreting out the appeals to but my client is a woman, and as a woman, she could be potentially harmed. Therefore, you must acquit. And that's that kind of like just bold-faced what we term gynocentrism, which is just generally people's desire to protect and provide for women. It's otherwise termed the women are wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let us continue. Yeah, our angle is not going to be in the technical side, so.
Well, no, that's a technical side. It's just a little bit more. I mean, because
well, my point is that like the legalese stuff and like all of the word
the legal
stuff.
That's not going to be us. That's not going to be us.
That's what I meant. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
If Amber was abused by Mr. Depp even one time, then she wins.
Then you must acquit.
One time.
And we're not just
one
talking
time.
about
By the way, no evidence of it happening not even one time. Unless, of course, you broaden the definition of abuse to the point where Johnny Depp cursing at Amber Heard counts. And of course, didn't Amber Heard like attempt to cry on the stand when she chose to go up there? And I from what I saw, and I didn't watch everything, but from what I saw, it didn't appear to be all that legit. So could the jury buy into this notion that he may have abused her once? Because that's what he's arguing. And of course, what do we mean by the word abuse?
Well, they're manipulating something here, and this is the information you'll get from us, but nobody else. There's a particular psychological thing that when we see something that could cause a lot of harm, we imply more intent. Another way to look at it is, imagine a drunk driver hits a tree, okay? And then imagine the same drunk driver hits a tree, but there's a kid in front of the tree. In the second category, because the effect of that person's actions is worse, we imply more intent and more malice. So when he says, oh, Amber could have been hurt, or even just could have been hurt by Johnny, we will infer more malice on the part of Johnny. So every time he appeals to a negative consequence to Amber, including just all of these people being upset at her online. Like literally, this is the argument I think he's making. It's actually a powerful emotional argument. He is showing, or he's trying to show, that Amber is being abused by people online. And he's trying to make the connection between that abuse and Johnny Depp's actions. And then because if he can make that connection, if he can get the jury to believe that Amber is being abused online as a result of Johnny Depp's actions, and then he says it only takes one instance, then he has constructed the means to seed in the jury's mind not to find Amber guilty. And it's basically that whole psychological phenomenon, apply motive and malice based on just recognizing harm. And in this case, it's the harm that Johnny Depp has supposedly done by sending his flying monkeys to attack Amber on the internet.
Yeah, through victim blaming.
And it's really sneaky. And then the other thing that he's appealing to is, we all have, even I had to fight. Like when I first saw the video of Johnny Depp slamming cabinet and then picking up the illegal recording, I was like, oh crap, that does look bad. And then I went on Twitter, and it was actually other women posting on Twitter pointing out, well, this doesn't prove he hit her. It doesn't prove he abused her. Abusing the cabinets because set doesn't mean he abused her. But for a lot of people, seeing a man angry, seeing a man slam cabinets, seeing a man aggressively pick up a phone, and I'm guessing that this wasn't the first time that she's been recording him, and that he knows that she's doing it for sort of malicious purposes. Seeing all that makes you think he might have done it. And when we're talking about wife abuse, there's such a powerful narrative around men as batterers that might can slip into he must have done it in people's minds. And that's what Rotten Born is actually appealing to. It's those stereotypes. Well, Johnny Depp was angry in this circumstance, so he might have hit her. Well, maybe he did hit her. Like he might have. He might. He's an angry man. He might have. Well, maybe he did. Well, she must not be guilty. I mean, that's what he's appealing to here, and it's a powerful argument. It works. It works because people will condemn men just for getting angry, not hitting anyone, not hurting anyone, maybe slamming a few cabinets and getting himself a mega pint of wine, but just because he's angry, he could have done something, which comes he might have done something, and then becomes maybe he did something, and then it becomes, well, maybe if he did something, we didn't see it, but it could have been there, therefore he did do something. And it's a really slippery slope. I felt myself on it. Like literally, I had to Twitter, I'm like, oh shit, I think he might have been abusive. And then people were like, where's the evidence? And I was like, you're right. Just because he was angry once doesn't mean he hit her. There is no evidence. Case closed.
Yep.
It was actually great to see because we were seeing women pointing this out. Where's the evidence?
Yeah,
where
if
is
you
it?
don't actually see it, then again, and it is easy to fool people in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
So even after we saw and heard the evidence that Amber Heard did in fact physically
You know.
hit Johnny Depp and cut off a part of his finger.
Yeah, it's very powerful effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very powerful effect because you when a man is angry, you feel afraid for the woman in the room. And it's
Yep.
just because it is not even just because of stereotypes, it's not even just because of history bias. It is because of our instincts.
Yep.
Okay? We have instincts around, I think we do, around fearing men and fearing men's anger. And he can appeal to all of that to frame Johnny as guilty with absolutely no evidence. And that's the kind of analysis we can offer, is because we have looked at all of the studies on this kind of thing and how this works. And here's another thing. When you watch that image of Johnny getting angry, and this is another thing you look out for, because people will watch that, and over time, somehow it creeps towards him being more and more violent. This is something that's actually been shown. If
Yeah.
you show people video of a female criminal and a male criminal doing exactly the same crime with the same level of violence, over time, they will misremember the male criminal as being more violent and the female criminal as being less violent. So over time, the jury may be thinking back to that period where Johnny was slamming cabinets, and suddenly it becomes more and more and more violent. So this is all like sneaky stuff, but it's the psychological effects that work on all of us, and you have to just stop and be conscious of it and say and fact check it, like I did. I was like, okay, well, did he? And then I went to Twitter and I was reading like there's women who pointed out, and it's a very salient point. It's like something you can't really deny. No evidence. And the fact that he's slamming cabinets is not evidence. I think everybody's slammed cabinets when they're upset. I know I have. I slammed doors. You can get in a pissy mood and you slam a door. Like, a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I've done that. When I was, quicker to anger, but I never laid a finger on
anyone.
A woman. No, well, I may have gotten into fights with guys, but I never did it to a woman. So
yeah, that's that.
That's
with each other.
Yeah. Well, it's true, but like even if you really, really think that it would be justified, I couldn't do it. I mean, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So, and I think that it's a really good thing because I would have been screwed.
Yeah,
so.
And there's a lot of instincts around that. Like I said, there's instincts to see men as more violent, instincts to feel like women need protection in the presence of violent men, which influences how we perceive something that's relatively innocuous, like Johnny slamming cabinets because he's upset with something. And there's also like with men, there are instincts to not upset women. I know that sounds really freaking weird, but when women cry, they emit a pheromonal signal that reduces men's testosterone. Yeah. So women crying is an actual signal to men, and it's punishing because it makes them feel very uncomfortable on like a hormone. So there's that too. So and he can appeal to all of that. This is one of the reasons why it's a bit of an uphill battle for Johnny, and it has been for 6 years. Because there's a whole host of instincts, there's a whole host of hormonal responses, there's a whole host of historical precedents, there's a whole industry that's biased against male victims of domestic violence. There's all kinds of things that he's fighting against. And not the legal stuff is like to be honest, the legal stuff in this, small potatoes. All of the social stuff that he's dealing with is where the dragons lie in this case, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think that's
not making legal arguments. He's making emotional.
Exactly, and I think that the other thing too is that like he's gonna do as much harm to Johnny's reputation with these closing arguments as he can, because he can't. Like none of this is really like necessary if you think about it, because they're the defense, but they're on the attack here, right? And this is because what they're trying. I mean, like Rottenborn is good. He's going to try and leave. Well, he's trying to leave a crater where Johnny Depp's reputation is, because he probably, doesn't believe that they could win on the merits of the case itself. So he's going to try and bias the jury as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that would require him to destroy the reputation of a man. And it does work. So it's not a bad tactic. I mean, it would seem natural to do that. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can't really fault him because he's like on the legal sense. I mean, he's got some grounds with.
He's got a job to do too. So
yeah, he has a job to do. He's got some grounds with arguing that it doesn't, like, there isn't a strong connection between the op-ed and Johnny. It's pretty obviously strong connection to the damages being done to him, but there's some legal traction there. But that isn't like it's not. I don't think it's a winning case. So what he's reaching for, because he's trying to represent her as the best he can, what he's reaching for is to appeal to emotional stereotyping, emotional impulses and instincts around violence against women, and biases that we all have. And
Yep.
it works. It works.
Yep. All right. Let's keep going. You have any thank yous since we're at
Yes,
the
I
hour?
do. I do have some thank yous. And again, I want to thank everybody who's helping make sure that this content is possible. And if you would like to join a very generous support or join our very generous supporters, it is at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. And if you'd like to send us a message sans censorship and we get the full benefit of the moolahs, you go to feedthebadger.com/just-the-tip. All right.
Would you like to know more?
Would you like to? Okay. Thank you to Michael O. For $50. Thank you. That's to
yeah. Here, I got something for him.
Do ladies work here?
Okay.
All right, and Teflon Soul gives us $25, so thank you, Teflon Soul.
Thank you, Teflon Soul. Let's see. What's that? I don't even know what this one is.
If I thought you were my friend, I just don't think I could bear it.
Okay, so thank you, Teflon Soul. And once again, if you want to join our supporters, please go to feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz or feedthebadger.com and follow the pop-ups. Okay, we also have a super chow. Yay!
Cool.
Love those super chows. I'm just scrolling up. There we go. All right. Pro Male Social Worker gives us $50 and says, "Keep up the great work. The world needs more honey badgers." I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to see more women use their voice and the social powers that they have to act, like Camille did. It's Camille, right? Camille,
yeah. Camille.
Yes.
My wife, Camille.
Depp's avenging Valkyrie did in his trial. Because to be quite frank, and I'm thinking of doing a little video on to just sort of explain I have some personal feels in regard to what I was seeing in the closing arguments when it came to Camille. But, she was doing something he couldn't do. It is difficult to stand toe-to-toe against someone like Amber Heard. Women who make false accusations are not held back by the trauma of actually having experienced something. That trauma itself can make it difficult for women who've experienced that to come forward. And that's very difficult. And it's important to remember that that's hard for any victim to come forward. Even if you are assisted by the institution, it still is hard to come forward because you're reliving the trauma of the event. And I can totally see why even feel like the due process that's afforded their abusers make it feel like a uphill battle. But it sort of has to be because, again, we need to prove things before we cause secondary harm. But female false accusers aren't hampered by any kind of pain or suffering that they've experienced because they haven't experienced any pain or suffering. Yeah. So they're capable of being 100% offense. And shrouding themselves with a story of victimhood means that they can also be 100% defense. And these false accusers are never more powerful, shrouded in this kind of mystique of some kind of victimhood. These sociopaths are never more powerful than they're shrouded in some kind of cloak of victimhood. And so in a lot of ways, Camille had to step up against someone who was super powered. Amber Heard is super powered by her story of victimhood. And she's being afforded the benefit of our instincts to protect women. She's being afforded the benefit of the bias of these institutions towards believing female victims, and not evidence. And so she's afforded all of these protections and all of this power. And Camille is stepping into the ring, taking on protecting a man who is a victim. She isn't afforded any of the benefit of the instincts to protect women, any of the bias to protect women. And yet she's in there and she's fighting for him. That's got to be scary. It's sort of like stepping into the ring with like a fully armored person with a sword, and you have like a slingshot.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a David and Goliath fight, and Camille is the David, and Amber Heard's the Goliath because she's doing. And so not only is she shrouded in that cloak of victimhood, which is still supported by people. And she's also sort of conniving. So she's, in my opinion, like this is my opinion.
Yeah.
So it makes her dangerous. It makes her slippery. And so not only is she supported by that, like Camille is literally getting into the ring with a handicap. And I've experienced that. Like women are never more vulnerable than when they advocate for men's issues. And that's what Camille did. She's advocating. Now it's her job, so props to her for doing a good job. But at the same time, it's also really scary. Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
Physical abuse. We're talking about emotional abuse, psychological abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse.
Wait, what's financial abuse? How Johnny Depp is doing financial abuse to Amber Heard? Who's the one that lost work? What are you talking about? What? Okay, anyway, let's keep going.
That's what we're talking about. Let's look at the evidence. You heard Mr. Depp define abuse from his own mouth. He admitted all of that when he talked about his childhood. They're trying to trick you into thinking that Amber has to be perfect in order to win.
Wait, what? He defined abuse by talking about his childhood?
Yeah, because he was abused by his mama.
Yeah,
shock and awe, people. Johnny Depp had a bad relationship with his mother. Go ahead.
Look, yeah, but he says, let's look at the evidence, and then just okay. Well, admittedly, there's a cut there, but I don't know.
I think that I think that he's just using. He's trying to say that Johnny Depp admits that abuse of this kind that he's accusing Johnny Depp of exists because he admitted to his own abuse. So I think that's why he's invoking Depp's, because he's basically saying Johnny Depp said it himself. Abuse is real. Of course, no one ever denied abuse was real. That's not really what this is about. But this is what this is what I think
I see a cut here, so I'm wondering. I'm just like, what are they trying to convey with that? Like, I'm pretty sure that Entertainment Tonight is going supercut of the like everything that
Yeah.
they feel like is the
They
legal
think is
haymaker.
the best hits.
Yeah. But that seems to be really. Johnny himself agrees that abuse exists. Therefore,
He is an
he is
abuser.
an abuser.
How's he going to deny it?
How is he going to deny it? Okay. All right. Like, I think we're either missing some context or, wow, that's some serious weirdness.
Well,
Like,
I mean,
either way.
I can accept that maybe we're missing some context, but I think that I believe that that's the argument he's making, because he's trying to essentially say, well, we know that Amber Heard was a victim of, and then he lists various types of abuse, right? He says emotional abuse, psychological abuse, financial abuse, and I think he even suggested sexual abuse. And then, because, just to make sure that the jury knows, abuse is real. And I'll demonstrate it by pulling these words out of Depp's mouth, which is that he was abused. Or, because I believe he talked about being abused by his mother. And when he was young.
I don't think that was, like Rottenborn. I don't think that in this trial, anyone was denying the fact that abuse exists.
That's kind of what this whole trial is about, which is that abuse exists and it happened. Well, I don't even think Johnny is trying to prove that he was abused. Like, at the end of the day, he's just trying to prove that Amber Heard lied on him. That's it.
Lied about him,
like, that's literally the only thing. So,
okay.
All right, let's keep going.
Here's Rottenborn.
Yeah.
While they're ignoring
Johnny describes abuse.
many flaws, but
Case closed.
Yeah.
Like,
even Johnny admits abuse is real. Therefore, he's guilty. No further questions. I mean, the defense rests.
This right in the line of in a world where defamation doesn't exist, this trial wouldn't exist. Case closed. The defense rests.
Freedom of speech. Case closed.
Defense rests. Okay.
Yeah, we're done. He does the thing with the hands, like dusts off his palms.
Yep.
Sits next to Amber. We got this. It's like some Dumb and Dumber sequel. Okay, but anyway, let's keep going.
Don't fall for that trick. Amber's not perfect. None of us are. She's never pretended.
Don't fall for what?
That's not
what
you're being asked to decide.
Let me go back.
That's not what you're trick. Amber's not perfect. None of.
All right, right here.
Even while they're ignoring Mr. Depp's many flaws, but don't fall for that trick. Amber's not perfect. None of us are. She's never pretended to be, and that's not what you're being asked to decide. One time, ladies and gentlemen, one time. If he abused her one time, Amber wins.
Okay, yeah, he's just all right. There's no proof of one.
No.
Okay, what he's doing is he's setting up a scenario in which it's possible it could have happened. So the jury will fill in the blanks and say, well, then it must have happened once. I mean, he was angry on this video. I mean, he had black humor with his friend about it. So it's possible, therefore it happened, therefore he's guilty, therefore we find for the defendant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And what is this about being perfect? Okay.
Yeah, again, there is that let's make a weird appeal that isn't really important. Well, because he's saying that people are overlooking all of Johnny's flaws and that, Amber Heard's not perfect either, but that's not why, I don't know, it was weird. It was basically
but punching somebody in the face, like, that's going beyond not being perfect into she was the abuser.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, well, that's pretty much, he's going to try and make Amber Heard's not perfect. She's just a woman. What do women
How can
know?
she be expected?
How could she possibly, hurt this strong man of like monolithic size known as Johnny Depp?
He's like what, 5'9" and 140 pounds?
Not that matters. Like that could be fucking Jason Momoa up there, or fucking Hugh Jackman, and it would be
larger. If he doesn't hit back, he's just a larger punching bag.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the truth.
Yeah, exactly. If he doesn't hit back, he's just a bigger punching bag. Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
But let's see what else. Let's see what else.
Yeah, I'm playing it. I'm playing it.
Actually,
Okay.
if he fails to prove that he never abused her one time, Amber wins.
If he
That's crazy. He says if he fails to prove that he didn't abuse her, Amber wins. So he has to prove a negative, which is impossible. Yeah, he has to. It's impossible. Like he just said something. I can only assume it was with some degree of malice because he can't be this boneheaded to say that.
Unless the plaintiff proves that there are no unicorns anywhere.
Yeah.
Then he is guilty.
He is wrong, and unicorns obviously exist because he couldn't prove that they don't.
Yeah,
So,
it's almost impossible to prove a negative. And again, I think like when I was saying that he's working up to trying to poison the well for the jury to show, Johnny getting angry, to appeal to all of this behavior, like him being because there's a huge amount of historical rhetoric around abuse being tied to substance abuse for men. He's probably appealing to that, but he's painting this picture in which abuse could have occurred. And then he's saying, if Johnny can't prove that abuse didn't occur, then he's guilty.
Yep.
Well, that's impossible.
Yep.
And he's inviting the jury to ask that question and say, well, could abuse have occurred because of these behaviors, these flaws? And has he proven that it didn't? And they'd be like, no, he hasn't proven that it didn't. And in fact, because I've seen this man being angry in the presence of a delicate woman, I feel like very strongly that abuse did occur. This is what's happening. This is manipulating people's. This isn't a legal argument because it's absurd. Like he's basically saying this guy's guilty unless he can prove a negative.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's not a legal argument. Okay. It is. And in fact, in any other defamation trial, this would be a lawyer saying, well, the plaintiff can't prove that he didn't, rape the Wall Street Bull. He could have at any point. He can't prove that he didn't do it. So, and it's possible for him to have done it. So therefore, my client can publish any kind of outrageous lie against the plaintiff because the plaintiff can't prove that he didn't do it. Case closed. That means that it would be absurd in any other situation because we have these attitudes. He was angry in the presence of Amber because we have that attitude. It could have happened. He hasn't proved that it didn't happen, like 100%, because we weren't there everywhere. Well, maybe he did. Therefore, he's guilty. And it's just playing on how our emotions fill in the blanks. That's what he's doing. He's setting up these blanks. He's allowing the jurors to use their emotions to fill in those blanks and their instincts to fill in those blanks.
Yep.
It is actually pretty clever. It's pretty well done.
Yep.
I think
it shouldn't be as effective as it likely will be. But there we are. It's very true. Yes.
He's doing a good job as their lawyer.
Yep. This is
as
like some massive Yu-Gi-Oh card he just played, basically. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the Yu-Gi-Oh card is that if the juror, like playing on the juror's instincts to protect women. So if he sets up a situation where a woman could have been abused, and he says, "Well, can he prove that he never did it?" And if he can't prove that he never did it, and they're thinking, "Oh wait, it could have happened. Maybe it did happen," and that's just the way their minds work in this scenario. So he's creating this emotional argument. He's setting up these blanks for jurors to fill in for themselves. And it's actually a very clever tactic. It is not, I don't think it's based on any kind of legal precedent or legal standard or legal whatever, but it is based on how we perceive men and women, how we perceive men's anger, how we perceive substance abuse in men, and how we don't give men the benefit of the doubt. So it's a good tactic. It's really horrifying, but it's a good tactic. Works.
Yep.
All right, should we listen a bit more?
All right, let's keep going.
So let's take a look at some of the evidence. This was one of the first messages shown to Mr. Depp in his cross.
So this is his chat, his text chat with Paul Bettany, in case you're not watching this on YouTube and you're listening to this afterwards.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. So he's like I said, what he's going to do is he's going to put doubt into the juror's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to do it by appealing to Depp's substance abuse, appealing to his flaws, appealing to that angry video. I'm not sure if he did that, but I would have done it if I was him. Appealing to that to create doubt, like that blank spot in the juror's mind. And then they will fill it in with their own stereotypes about abuse and angry men and how they're likely to.
Yeah.
So, and this is of course also very, like, it is not evidence, but he's going to use it to taint their attitude toward Johnny, to paint not a picture of an abuser, but a picture of a potential abuser. And then he's going to tie that back into, can he prove he never abused her?
Mm-hmm.
And that's his strategy for the win, I'm pretty sure. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's play this.
Cross-examination. This is a message to Paul Bettany, his drug buddy, early on in their relationship, when he says, "Let's burn Amber. Let's drown her before we burn her. I will f*** her burnt corpse afterwards to make sure she is dead." Some of the most vile, disgusting language that you could ever imagine.
Yeah, that's Monty Python though. Burn her as a witch, and then they drown her.
Oh yeah,
That's a
I see.
Python
Yeah.
reference.
Again, that's a conversation between him and Paul Bettany. He didn't expose Amber to it. He didn't, to my knowledge. So what?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, even if it was like as expressed and it wasn't actually like Monty Python quotes, like this is a comedy skit. This is partly taken from a comedy skit from The Search for the Holy Grail by Monty Python, where they are alleging a woman is a witch because she turned a man into a newt. And they say, well, let's burn her, but and then they go through some ridiculous back and forth, and then they decide to drown her instead. So that's where that is from. And of course, he's not going to recognize the context of that because he's hoping that the jurors are like, oh, we don't know what. And then he can frame Johnny, or he can present Johnny as a potential abuser by using not evidence of abuse, but something that makes him look less than completely saintly. I mean, talk about being a perfect victim, huh? She says, well, she's not a perfect victim. And what he means is that she's confessed to actually hitting the man. And there's tapes of her like abusing him and acting incredibly jealously.
yeah.
But at the same time, he turns around and he says, well, look at this. And this is just like you said, it's just a text between friends. It's black humor, and it's based on a comedy skit. Well, look at this. Look at how he talks about her. Could this man not abuse her? Can he prove he never did? No. Then he must have quit,
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's keep going.
That is what he said to her at the beginning of the relationship. So
He didn't say it to her.
Yeah, he didn't say it to her. He said it to Paul Bettany. And again, we don't really have the context. Like, they could have been joking around. What I mean by that is, obviously he wasn't going to actually do any of the shit that he's saying, but they could have been having a laugh, or he could have been frustrated, or whatever. We don't know. But again, he wants us to think that Johnny Depp had a conversation with Paul Bettany and then showed Amber Heard in the hopes that it would make her cry. Not that I think she's capable of crying, but that's kind of what the lawyer is trying to imply, right? He was like, look at this. This is about you. Take that. He's like, no, I can't stand to see it.
How the relationship was bookended. You remembered Mr. Depp the other day in response to some text that we'll see later saying, I don't write like that. This is a bookend of the relationship. This is after it was over.
This is another chat between Isaac Beauregard and Depp. So Isaac is the guy, the big guy that was testifying in the beginning. And then he said, Depp, I guess, said this, is the slippery whore that I donated my jizz to for a while staying there? Hopefully that cunt's rotting corpse, maybe, I think that's what he says, is decomposing in the fucking trunk of a Honda Civic. Yeah,
so what? She abused him. He's angry.
Yeah, I mean, this is towards the
Proof
end,
of
so...
nothing. This is his attitude towards a woman who treated him like crap means what? He didn't even express it towards the woman in question. He's probably too scared to.
Probably.
I mean, one woman was responded to this. Wow, like if the text that I sent about my abusive husband were I would have been screwed because I was sending even worse texts to my friends about him. You know, like, this is something between friends, and it's over a person who apparently was incredibly stressful and abusive by her own admission. So what are they trying to prove with this? And they have no proof that he actually said anything like this to her.
Yep.
All right.
Let's keep going.
I asked Mr. Depp to read that top text. You'll remember that was the only thing I asked him to read, and he immediately said I didn't write that text, even though, of course he did. Even though he wrote the text under it that said, hopefully that...
Underword?
Can you go back a bit to the first text that he put up?
Is the slippery whore that I donated my jizz to for a while staying there?
The previous exhibit. Just a little bit back. Yeah, where he was talking about, go there.
That one, Let's Burn Amber, yeah.
Yeah. Is that, because I've been hearing on Twitter that at least some of these texts are actually incoming to Depp.
Oh, I can't tell. So I don't know. I don't know whether or not these are things that Depp sent from his phone or got on his phone. So
I have to look at it a little more closely.
I guess, I honestly don't know.
Neither do I.
I'm not going to pretend to know. All right.
This is after it was over. I asked Mr. Depp to read that top text. You'll remember that was the only thing I asked him to read, and he immediately said I didn't write that text, even though, of course he did. Even though he wrote the text under it that said, hopefully that rotting corpse is decomposing in the trunk of a Honda Civic. That's how he bookended their relationship.
And this is the only thing you can find.
Yeah, it's all they have. It's all they have.
All of the recordings spoke to her like this at all. In fact, I don't even remember his voice, him raising his voice.
No, I think the most it was like, don't tell me what it's like to be punched. And I think that's about as loud as he got, but
yeah,
generally appears to be a relatively soft-spoken person.
Yeah. I never actually directed this towards her. And so this isn't actually evidence that he abused her, guys. Like, none of this is.
No.
All it is poisoning the jury's mind, creating those blanks so they fill them in. Oh, well, this man could possibly have abused her. There's no actual evidence that she did, or he would be presenting it in his closing argument. Like, seriously, he'd be presenting it if it existed. So he's just creating those blanks and hoping that their instincts will fill it in. Their desire to protect them will fill it in.
Yeah, and also, like, most people, if they hear about a domestic violence situation, they're as charitable as they would normally get towards a man. I'm talking about just a common person that you might bring this up to. They might admit to or accept the notion that both parties were abusive. Like just on its face. Like that's sort of where a lot of people might start from, if not overtly believing that women are victims, because that's the way it's presented, right? So that means that right off the bat, Depp's team has hurdles to get over, and one of the primary ones is our bias. So, all right, let's keep going. We're getting a lot of bots for some reason. We had like 4 bots since the stream started, but we do have well over 100 people, and I see a lot of new faces. So thanks, guys. Alison, do you have any thank yous to do?
I don't think so. I could take another check, but I did. Wow, we have bots. That's weird. I'll do another check. Just give me a sec.
I sometimes get them when I'm doing the news show too, so it's not like a new thing.
We did get someone. Oh, it's pending. So we gotta. Oh, it's 5 minutes ago, so it might still. Let me see who sent it through. I'll have to give you a shout out and say that you. Okay.
So there's something that will go through, but it hasn't yet.
Maybe if you're Alan, your pending support is it's still hanging there after 5 minutes, so I think it might have failed. The internet gods have rejected your tribute. I will check again to make sure that it went through. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it happens. It's like our website is it's not like state of the art, shall we say. All right. Yeah. So at the moment, we're still on social workers super chow, and I haven't got anything through to the court, but I would like to remind everyone that we are doing a
Alison, you're breaking up. Get a little closer to your mic.
My. Okay, I'll get a little closer. I don't know if it'll work with this mic because I think it's just my internet went to crap. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, it should be good now. Okay, so I just want to remind everyone we are doing at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. If we aren't able to raise the funds, then we aren't able to do this content. So please do take a moment to go to feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. $5, $10, any little bit helps. It does keep us on the air. It's the only thing that keeps us on the air. So please do help out. Mm-hmm. And if you want to send us a message with no censorship, you can do that at feedthebadger.com/justthedepp. And I will double check.
And there are links in the description to go to the fundraiser, so you don't have to memorize what Alison is saying to go there. And just go to the link in the description.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. All right. I can also see where we're at. I think we're over 1,000. I'll see if we're at 1,105. We got 4,250 to go, and 3 days. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
All right.
You know what? To be honest, everybody always waits to the end of the month. I think they're like, okay, well, what do I have in my budget? It's pretty typical. Anyway, let's continue.
Let's continue.
Are a window into the heart and mind of America's favorite pirate. This is the real Johnny Depp.
You can't restore his reputation. You can't give him anything. They didn't tell you that.
Oh, now we're moving on to the other lawyer, whose name I can't remember.
This is definitely an interesting tack. Our client is guilty, but you can't actually do anything to benefit the plaintiff, so not guilty.
Yeah.
What? All right, let's.
All right,
maybe I'm taking it out of context. Let's see the whole thing.
I don't know. All right, let's keep going.
But the court told you that, and that's a very, very important thing here. He told his story. He had his opportunities. He had his full opportunities to do all of that. And he came in here and lied to you and said he's here to get his reputation back. It's just one of many lies in this case, but it's a really big one, because here we are, 6 weeks of your time, precious time, 6 weeks
The Johnny's
of this
face.
court's time. For what?
Stop.
Nothing.
Stop.
Look-
Okay. He how is he going to get his reputation to do this trial?
Mhm.
Like right there, she completely unraveled her own logic. And my goodness, she has really thin arms.
Oh yeah, I never noticed that. Wow. Do some curls, lady. Eat some
Do
protein.
you even lift, bro?
Well, I never noticed that. It looks like some yellow submarine character.
Oh. No, I'm sorry. I get distracted by the weirdest things, like Amber Heard's cheekbones and her arms. I
yeah,
sound
I
like a
know.
lunatic.
Just never noticed how thin her arm are. Noodle arms.
Yeah.
She's like
Just-
Adventure Time.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I know that's not an argument, but I think it's funny.
I know it's not an argument at all. It's just it's a little disconcerting.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so she's not making an argument here. It's not even coherent thought. Like, how would he
No.
have cleared his name without this trial?
No,
How would he have
Elaine.
gotten? Like, how would he have gotten all of this information from public record with this trial?
Yeah.
And the fact, what are you arguing here? Okay, so the trial is him clearing his name, but we don't have to go to a judgment. His name is cleared now. Let's just rest. Like, what?
I understand that Elaine's closing arguments are even worse than Rottenborn's, and it's so
Well,
much. It was so
Rottenborn's-
bad. It was so bad that she was called up to the stand. Like there were like several objections, and she was called up to the stand to correct the record on things.
I've been heard that Rottenborn's legal arguments were sound, and to be honest, even though I don't agree with the content of the arguments he presented because I think it's unethical, he is doing a job to get his client off the hook. And the way that he framed everything makes perfect sense in the context of how people perceive men and women in abuse. All he needs to do is frame Johnny as a potential abuser, counsel the jury to, well, if he can't prove he never abused her, he's the kind of guy who could have, and they will fill in the blank. So he just needs to construct that, and he's constructed not a legal argument, not a logical, not a rational argument, and not an argument based on evidence, but an emotional argument based on people's stereotypes, instincts, and emotional reasoning and desire to protect women. It's actually very shrewd, very cunning. So he did a good job. I don't know what the hell she's doing.
Yeah, I know, it's a little nuts.
The trial itself is sufficient for the plaintiff. The plaintiff got everything he wanted out of the trial. Why do we need to go to judgment?
Yeah.
Like, what? Okay. Why did he even start this trial? Even though the trial is where he got all of his evidence. What is this meandering nonsense? Oh, man. Okay.
All
I'll
right.
do some more.
Only to go after Amber. That's psychological abuse. He's going after Amber for nothing. Because
Wait,
he
what?
wants to put her through this again.
Yeah. To put her through this again because he's suing. That's what this whole thing is about. So she's saying this shouldn't be happening because it's abuse. You
and again,
you shouldn't be able to sue people when they libel you or destroy your career.
Or
Yeah, 'cause
alternatively, now
it's
this
abuse.
is evidence. Oh, she's using the trial itself as evidence that Johnny's abusive. So
Yes.
it's sort of tying a little bit into what Rottenborn is saying with
Yeah.
the whole creating that gap that juries will fill in with their own stereotypes and emotional reasoning regarding men and women and abuse. She's sort of appealing to that as well. And now she's saying that the trial itself is evidence that Johnny Depp abused Amber Heard. Or implying that. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
The third time. So we're fighting back, and that's the counterclaim. She finally has said enough. Enough. And we're asking you to.
And yet, what's the saying? And yet she persisted. Is that like the the feminist saying? And yet she persisted.
Finally, hold this man
wait.
responsible.
Okay. Wait. She's the defendant. She's not holding anyone responsible. I guess unless she's talking about the countersuit.
Well, she is. Didn't she? Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. Didn't Amber's countersuit double Johnny Depp's original suit?
Yep.
Yeah, it was like he wanted 50 million and she wanted 100 million or something. That's the balls on that woman to do that. And he could still lose. Like, like he could end up getting like he could lose and she could get the whole 100 mil. And he would be absolutely fucked.
If the jury falls for Rottenborn's presentation, and his presentation is Johnny Depp has said these things about Amber Heard, not to her. We have no real evidence of abuse. And also he did he slammed cabinets angrily.
Yeah.
That's a guy who could have abused someone. He had a substance issue. He could have done it. He could have done it. And you don't need, what he needs to do is prove he never did it. And he's just going to allow the jury gaps using their stereotype notions of abuse and what angry men do and what men who have substance abuse problems. And it could very well work, to be honest.
Yep. It could.
I don't know what Camille is. I don't know what Elaine is doing. It seems to be a little bit eccentric, but I might also be adding into this. Like she's again trying to frame Amber as the victim, and trying to frame Amber as engaging in righteous self-defense.
Yep.
Jesus,
yep.
I don't remember Camille gesturing towards Amber when maybe she did when she started up on, but maybe Amber's behind her, so she. This seems really aggressive, but anyway, let's continue.
All right, let's keep going.
If it wasn't noodle arms.
Yeah.
He has never accepted responsibility for anything in his life. Once again, the next day, Johnny apologizes to Amber.
Wait, I thought he didn't accept responsibility.
Wait. Entertainment tonight. What are you guys like sneaky?
They're at the they're asleep at the wheel.
They're asleep at the wheel, and they're like sneaky Depp supporters here.
Yeah,
did you see that?
Maybe
he's like, never take responsibility. He apologized. Okay.
Yeah. What did he apologize for? I mean, we gotta find out. Maybe just being like a mess, I guess. But okay, let's keep going.
I listened to a lot of this, but it's so like a lot of it's like coherent.
I know we were going to do this on Friday, but the fucking closing arguments were like 9 hours. And I was like, I'm not going through 9 hours to find like the best bits. Like that would take me literally the entire day. So
as in two different text messages, that 772 and 773, he says my profound apologies in one of them, and my apologies are eternal in the other one. What is he apologizing for the next day on May 22nd if he didn't know that he did all of those things?
Oh my God. He could have apologized for anything. Sorry I didn't take the dishes out of the dishwasher.
I was late picking you up. I'm sorry my face hurt your fist when you punched me.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly.
The fact he apologized, like a lot of abuse victims apologize for nothing because they don't know what else to do except take responsibility for what their abusers tell them that they are responsible for. I profoundly apologize.
People are saying that he was apologizing for some language he used. So that's not abuse.
Yeah, that's not
by itself. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you for correcting us on that. He's apologizing.
Yeah, I had no idea. So again, they're leaving that out of the video clip too. So, it's helpful that there are people who watched all of that and know. But nonetheless, Oh, but somebody else in the chat said Johnny is apologizing for the monster he calls his drugs. No abuse. Yeah, I didn't think so. He was probably, again, he has demons. We know that. That's not the same as being a wife beater. So,
okay. So I just wanted to give Alan an update. Your $25 did get through. Thank you, Alan. It took a while. The internet gods were chewing over that for a while. The badger, the great badger in the sky, was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna gnaw on this before I let it through," but it did go through. So thank you.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to join our generous,
Why can't we have some mints?
if you'd like to join our generous supporters, please go to feedthebadger.com. You can follow the pop-ups, or you can go directly at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz, or as Brian keeps mentioning, you can look in the low bar if you are on YouTube or Rumble or all of the other places.
Yep. It's in the
or
description.
You can hit the banner on YouTube.
Yeah, and if you go and click the banner, it'll take you there too. And if you just go to feedthebadger.com, you can navigate there. There's a bunch of ways to get there, is what I'm saying.
It's a fusion of ways.
Yes.
Many ways. All right, so let's listen to more.
Let us continue.
She wasn't wearing any makeup. She was natural. She wasn't wearing a stitch of makeup. Every one of them says it. It's the exact same thing. Well, why would you say that? She's an actor. She's not going to go outside her house, without putting makeup on. And if she has bruises, why on earth, when she's been covering them up for 4 years, why on earth would she not put makeup on so that she would cover those up? Why on earth would she not want to cover up those bruises? It makes no sense.
This is a diversity hire, right? This woman just keeps banging on the same thing, and it's like she's an actress, and this is edited. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if Elaine gets to a point.
Right. Yeah, I don't know where she's going with this, but
you know what? You guys saw her here. You guys saw it. You saw Amber on the stand. There were days where she didn't wear eye makeup.
She's like Amber Heard here looks like. He's like, shut up, lady. What are you doing? I'm gonna kill you.
Bad, I think.
She, of course, yeah, that was her whole thing. Throughout the whole thing, it still looked like she was on the verge of tears. But yeah, it's just she looks. I could see pain, but the pain of realizing that Elaine is just not doing a great job here.
A lot of people think that she's not wearing makeup when she doesn't have mascara and eyeliner on. She has different looks.
What is this?
I don't know.
Are without.
Like Depp, he was like, what are you talking about, lady?
Especially people that aren't that good at makeup, and a lot of men, frankly, go,
oh God, okay, just love that.
Oh, let's take a jab at men as a group now, real quick.
Oh God, men pioneered the use of makeup, and I think that Johnny would know what makeup looks like.
Yeah, he kind of wears some.
Considering that he wears coal in a lot of. Anyway.
He wears what? Coal?
Oh, like that around the eyes, the dark stuff around the eyes. Like
when he plays Jack Sparrow and shit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, might actually be authentic.
I thought that was just guy liner, but
no, it reduces glare, so.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
So it's not inauthentic, because a lot of situations where you don't want to be dealing. That's why they do that with football players.
Yeah.
I think it works better around the eyes though, like Afghani warriors.
Sure. Well, I mean, Depp has always been. As an aside, he's always been the kind of guy who thought of himself as having the rock star aesthetic, like a Stones type. So the makeup isn't really because a lot of rockers would wear some. I don't think that he had anything against it. And again, he's the kind of guy that's his aesthetic. So I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably doesn't have makeup, and that's where that mistake happens. But you heard her testimony, and you heard her makeup artist testimony saying she doesn't go out of her room without concealer and foundation. She knows how to put these things in. and you saw Defendant's Exhibit 155, and you'll have the actual thing in there. That's the type of palette she used, and she was very adept at telling you what colors she puts on for the different days of bruises. This is a woman who...
Oh my God. So, because I didn't see Amber Heard on the stand. So she is essentially, her case was that she would use makeup to conceal bruises, not to make them, which is what she's accused, well, what a lot of people believe, but to hide them. And then there was a whole bit where I guess she explained what colors she uses and shades and like how she puts it on. Oh my God, that's got to be the most tedious line of questioning. Like,
She also apparently made a mistake. Like, I don't wear makeup, so I don't know this, but she put color over concealer, and like all the women who wear makeup, yeah, that's that. You don't do that unless you're trying to create the appearance of a bruise.
yeah,
Again,
nuts. Okay.
this is the highlight for Elaine.
This
all right?
this is this is like Elaine's finest work.
4 years, did everything she could to cover up anybody knowing anything about this abuse. Do you honestly think she's just going to walk around for the week with her bruises exposed? Of course she's not. If you do the math, Amber is entitled to at least 31.5. What does she take? $7 million. What does she do with the $7 million? She gives it to charity, or she intends to give it to charity. Now, they make much ado about the pledge versus donation.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it there. Didn't she like take
31
some
million?
money? Yeah,
Entitled to 31 million.
entitled.
Hmm.
And
For
just
what?
took 7. No idea.
Well, I wonder if he was going to allege abuse. If she felt like she was entitled to 31, maybe. I don't think
What?
she's entitled to that much because she was abusive during the relationship, is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that went behind closed doors or something. Well, we can't know, but regardless, she pledged it and she didn't send it, so yeah, she
Yeah.
sort of lied about that.
A little bit. There, I think there was some sus things going on. Amber Heard is sus.
A little sus, yeah.
A little sus.
Designees for ACLU and for Children's Hospital said donation and pledge are interchangeable. You know, these are pledges. The ACLU corporate
No,
designees
but they're
said-
not.
Go ahead.
They're not okay. Yes, but that doesn't change the fact that she hasn't given the money to them. Oh, God. Please look at all of my spaghetti that I spilled. Really,
Don't look directly at the spaghetti; it will blind you.
Okay, does she make a coherent point in this entire
A coherent point? I think you're asking too much. I think you underestimate their chances.
you typically pledges
Or overestimate.
Look at Camille.
I know.
She's just like, oh my God. Oh,
I know.
that's
tax
Is Depp making jokes over here in the background?
oh my God, he must be an abuser.
Yeah, he must
He made
be.
a joke of this absurdity.
of the tax benefits, and that's what she said. She pledged it over a period of time because of the tax implications to it and because she was getting paid over the time. Now, she started to make these donations, and you'll see that the first one was on behalf of Mr. Depp's business manager, Mr. White, actually sent the letters with the $100,000 for each of those. That was the initial ones. He was trying to take credit for those, and in fact, both the ACLU and Children's Hospital got confused and gave the credit to Mr. Depp, not to Amber for those.
Wow, she's like a gerbil on caffeine. There's it's like I don't like, and what does that have to do with? Well, it doesn't matter. It's a mess. Elaine is a mess.
I'm failing to see a strategy here.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going with this, but
I mean, I definitely saw a strategy with Rottenborn. I wish I could see his face right now.
Men are literally better women's advocates than women. No, I'm just kidding. Chewbacca defense. It's the Chewbacca defense again.
Gerbil.
I can't do it.
I gotta get my dog over here. He can Chewbacca. But actually, you know, if Scipio was up there instead of Elaine, I think that would have been the trial. And just making an argument that why he should be able to play frisbee 24/7 and tug. I don't know. Like if she was replaced with a dog, I think it'd be.
Well, I don't know how the results would be, but it would be a more interesting watch.
Yeah, and then Rottenborn could come up and say, "Look at this dog. Is this not an adorable dog? You must find Amber Heard. Yeah, you must find Amber Heard not guilty because this dog is adorable.
Otherwise, you hate dogs.
Otherwise, you hate dogs, and look at how adorable the dog is. I mean, that's basically the argument he's made. I mean, it's good.
You have to prove that you don't hate dogs because we can only prove negatives by siding with the dog. So you must.
Yes.
Do you hate dogs?
Then you must acquit. You must find for the defense. Or you hate dogs. Or you hate this dog specifically. Oh, okay. I don't know. This trial is this defense arguments now just seem very silly and bizarre and.
Well, we're almost at the end, so let's motor through. Yeah, let's get through this.
Then she made payments to both, and Elon Musk also made payments to both for $500,000 each, which she didn't count to her pledge, but they helped those organizations. At the end of the day, she's
what?
Elon, you know what? I heard this part, and I was thinking, could she have name dropped Elon Musk simply because Elon Musk is a controversial figure in the news right now? You know, because of the Twitter thing. It's possible. Like, it's possible. I don't know. But then that doesn't make a lot of sense because Musk used to date Heard, which unfortunately says some things about Musk. And, well, hopefully he's, learned from that maybe. So I don't know, like, why she name dropped him, except that, he did give Amber Heard a lot of this money. So.
I don't know. I have no idea where this, like, I got a solid sense of what Rottenborn was actually trying to do.
Yeah. This Elaine is just flailing.
Big question mark.
This is flailing. That's all this is. I got a super chat from Senior Sticks who gives us $2 and says, will John Cleese or Gilliam be called as witnesses? Well, I already said that, they're who we're going to come after next. It's going to be Cleese, Gilliam, Eric Idle, and whoever else is left. Maybe the guy who does the animation. No, I think that guy passed away, sadly. Okay.
Right, before we continue, I just want to remind everyone, please go to feedthebadger.com/badger-media-blitz or feed the badger and follow the pop-up to make sure we get the funds for our monthly fundraiser. All right. Okay, Brian.
All right. Let us continue the video.
$1 million in payments to them, but then she got sued here and hasn't been able to because she spent $6 million in attorney's fees. That is unrefuted. She still intends to pay those pledges, honor those pledges, and she said that throughout, and I elicited from both the ACLU and from Children's Hospital, they haven't expired, she can pay them whenever she wants to, and she fully intends to, but she has to get out from under this first.
Oh, it's Depp's fault that she didn't give money to the charities that she pledged to give money to. That's why. It's because of Depp's abuse. So, like, there are little sick children in a hospital somewhere that aren't getting their money because Johnny Depp needs to, like, win his court case. You know what I think she's also trying to do is say that if Depp wins and gets his money, then Amber Heard won't be able to donate to these charities because she won't have the money.
They started to get Amber fired from Aquaman 2. They have continued to this day. They have followed her everywhere. Everybody has stopped wanting her. L'Oreal won't use her, even though they've kept her on from that time. She lost 3 different opportunities that were being discussed with her. The most significant part of that, though, is that Aquaman was the biggest blockbuster ever for DC Films. It was the...
I mean, for Warner Brothers, I don't think it was. I don't think it topped, like, say, The Dark Knight or whatever, but sure.
The biggest. It was over $1 billion. This was...
Also, nobody watched Aquaman for Amber Heard. Like, nobody. Not even the women who went. They went to see Jason Momoa.
I don't
So
even remember.
I didn't see it. I had no interest.
I don't even remember any of her scenes.
I'm sure that they are really, really bland. I saw her in the Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League movie because everyone was talking about it. And I said, okay, I'll check it out. And frankly, I didn't care for it. But Amber Heard had a bad English accent in that movie for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I mean, she's just not the star that Depp is. She's just not. So
No.
And no, like I will say I don't agree with like getting her fired from doing Aquaman. I don't agree with that. I don't like that. I think because you know, if you really don't like her, then just don't watch anything she's in. That's enough, like right there. I don't think that kicking her off is... I wouldn't want to put her in a position where she becomes a burden on society. So
also, I wouldn't want to give her ammunition against Depp.
Yeah, and ammunition against Depp, which is what they're doing here. They're trying to suggest that, you know, because some people decided to start a petition to get Amber Heard fired from
after this trial started.
After this trial started, right? That somehow Depp is responsible, and I don't like that, but yeah, I have other reasons. So anyway,
her opportunity for her star. Even the experts from Mr. Depp admitted this was her blockbuster, this was her mega. But what happened instead, as she's going through, as it's coming out, and in that 16 months they were going, well, nothing happened. Yeah, lots happened. She had 3 different films she was discussing. She got the L'Oreal contract. She got The Stand. All of those things were happening because of Aquaman, and then everything shut down. She was...
Okay, I'm just pausing it there just to play it safe. She's just basically trying to make the case that Amber Heard lost work as a result of this trial, which I think is a stretch. Did she get fired from Aquaman? I heard that her role from Aquaman 2. I heard that her role was made smaller. That's what I heard, but I again, doesn't matter to me. I don't think that she should get canceled anyways. I think that she should be able to find work, but we don't have to watch any of it, so...
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple.
Do publicity for The Stand. She wasn't allowed to, she hasn't been allowed to do anything for L'Oreal. She got shut down from her charitable organizations. She ended up not getting the Amazon movie. And then they gave her a hard time about Aquaman 2. And instead of the career trajectory of the other comparators, who all went way up, and by the way, all the experts admit that career trajectory went well for all the rest of them, and she's the only one that didn't have it. And the reason is because of the defamatory statements.
All right. That's the end of the highlight.
Sucks as an actress.
Say what?
No, I mean, the people that she compared her to were out of her league. And that doesn't, like, you can't compare something to, like, a potential to an actual. Like, Depp actually lost roles. You can't say, well, this was her career trajectory, presumably, compared to other people who are actually out of her league. She should have done as well as them. Therefore, she lost. I don't know. Elaine's argument is really weak.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I think Rottenborn knew exactly what he was doing. Okay, so is it just like we're just watching some Amber Heard at the end here?
I'm just putting something on the screen. You want me to find something else that's on here? Yeah, I could put Noodle Arms back on. People are in the chat are saying that she was not sacked and her role in the film is the same as it had always been. Well, and you never know, like, when it comes to the editing process, like, she could shoot, anyone in any film could shoot a lot of material and only a little bit gets used, and it's not has nothing to do with the PR around the person or anything. It's just like the editors, they were like, we don't need this, and that's it. So yeah, I mean, you could do a lot of work and very little of it gets on the screen. I know that that's happened. So it's kind of a weak argument right off the bat. Again, no, people aren't really watching those movies for Mira. They're watching them for Aquaman. So I think that's a stretch. And I frankly don't know her from anything else. I'm sure that she's been in other things, but I don't really know her from anything else. So.
Okay, so I think we've covered the highlights, some stuff.
Yeah.
I actually have watched part of this. Holy crap, was it long? And Elaine makes no sense.
She just rambles for like most of it. I actually have the full length thing. It's like 9 hours. That's me right there on the right. Thinking about going through 9 hours of this, but
yeah, you're feeling Amber Heard here.
Yeah. Well, this is relatable. But that's about it. That's the extent of it.
Love of God. This is the signal moment where Amber Heard is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I mostly paid more attention to the closing arguments, Camille's closing arguments, because they were really, I think, very powerful.
Oh, Camille's closing arguments?
Yeah.
They were great. Do you want me to find them?
Yeah, like we could take just a little bit of a look at it. But,
all right, let me see if I can find them.
Well, you have to go back to that 9-hour stream, right? Maybe
No. I think there's a highlight reel for Camille too. This is a highlight reel. There were a few people that were following this. Law and Crime Network they were the best as far as I can tell. Let me go to there. Maybe they have some. Oh yeah, here we go.
Welcome
to back. No, shut up. Sorry. I'm like getting something I didn't want to look at. Welcome to Law and Crime. Camille Vasquez presents closing art. It's like 45 minutes though.
Yeah, no, we're not going to go through that, but at least we get to see her. Yay!
Yeah, she's pretty great.
Yeah, she is. Very passionate.
We can't.
I see. She, at the end, she definitely went in for her hug. From. Johnny.
Yeah, sure. I want to see. What is there like a better key moments in closing arguments? I think I found.
Well, we're probably not going to go through it. So.
No. You just wanted to put her on the screen.
Yeah, like let's not end on an Amber Heard. Even Amber. Like one single most relatable moment, like you're just like, yeah, I feel you in this moment, Amber. Almost never, it doesn't happen in any other moment I've seen.
Yeah,
but that look of just utter, just exhausted annoyance is, yeah, that's relatable.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I wanted to give a thanks to USB Obliterator.
What?
Obliterator.
Okay.
Obliterator. Yeah, okay. USB Obliterator. Hope that's not your legal name. Who gave us $100?
What?
So
thank you.
What? Yeah.
Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless.
I don't agree with that. I think that you have a maiden somewhere. Okay, go ahead.
What does that mean to be maidenless?
It's a meme from a video game. Where it's called Elden Ring, and the first NPC you talk to says that to you, and that you're maidenless. And everyone made it into a meme because it means you're a virgin. That's what he basically called you, as a virgin when you came out of this dungeon. The first guy you meet's like, you're a virgin.
Well, thank you, sir. All right, so if you would like to join our very generous supporters and make sure that we can continue to do this work, please go to feedthebadger.com/project/badger-user. Badger-media-blitz, or go to Feed the Badger and follow the pop-ups. Yeah, I think we're good. This was lots of fun.
Yeah.
This is actually not quite as bad as going and doing a review of feminist craziness.
I mean, there's a space for both. Hopefully, we'll get like the verdict soon, and I think we should do a show on that when it happens.
Yeah.
So
I was
know-
actually thinking of covering the entertainment, like Twitter actually pinned the entertainment. Yeah, like it's just a bunch of crazy sound bites, and it was they actually tried to annihilate the trending, like all of the trending hashtags
Oh, you mean
on
like
Twitter.
justice for Johnny Depp and Amber Turd and all that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all pretty negative towards Amber, so Twitter had to pin this Reuters, I think it was, podcast, which what the hell? But anyway, podcast where they discuss the case, and they believe that everyone who sides with Johnny Depp just has no sex education, which maybe that's another way of saying you're maidenless.
Yes. Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless.
That's what Reuters has to say to all of us.
Well,
All
that's
right,
it's another way of saying incel, but it's a lot classier, so you don't feel as bad. Until you think about it, like, wait a minute. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I want to thank everybody who supported us, and thank everybody who joined, especially the new people. Nice to see you here. Welcome to the dark side, the subterranean pit under society, the place where they put everybody who doesn't, and hasn't for decades. I hope you enjoy your stay, and thank you, Brian, for posting this.
Oh yeah, no problem.
And you can, if you want, you can always throw us a few shekels at feedthebadger.com. You can either go to our monthly fundraiser, or if you want to send us a message, which we will get to in the next stream, you can go to feedthebadger.com/justhetip. And thanks again for all of your support. Probably be seeing you tomorrow. That's it for me. Back to you, Brian.
All right. Okay, so again, links are in the description to give us support. We appreciate any amount will do. It just lets us keep doing this work. We've been streaming for nearly 10 years, or doing shows for nearly 10 years. And we'd like to do it for, until I guess our work is no longer needed. And who knows? I think that we are having an impact on the wider culture to some degree. So if you guys could, help us out. If you can't help us out that way, then here are some other things you could do. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Also follow us on alternative streaming sites like Rumble and Twitch, as well as I think we're on DLive. So yeah, go to those places. Follow us on Twitter at HoneyBadgerBite. And check us out on Facebook. Same thing, Honey Badger Radio or Honey Badger Brigade. Please also consider commenting. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today. Give us your thoughts, any additional insight that you want to share. We would appreciate it. And please, most importantly, please share this stream with anyone that you think might be interested, and maybe they're a hater, maybe they're an Amber Heard, dyed in the wool, #MeToo supporter, and you can't convince them otherwise. Have them check out this stream and leave us there, so they can leave us their comments. We're okay with insults and negative comments and trolling, not above it. So thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Fundzerker, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay, they are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.